Good evening. I will call the Village of Vernon board meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. We stay standing for this moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call and open meeting law compliance check.
President Carl Fortner.
Present.
Trustee Jim Swanee.
Present.
Trustee Gary Wildy.
Present.
Trustee Fred Mahalik.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, note for record that you do have a quorum of your village board. Also note for the record that Trustee Lorene Dashik does have an excused absence. Mr. President and board members, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall, on the Town Hall's website, to the media, and other businesses within the town of Vernon. You're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. First up on the agenda is public comments, and there's members of the public. If you would like to give a public comment, please come up and state your name and address for the record. Well, there's a microphone there.
Please have a seat.
Yeah, right, and we allow public comments. There's a 3-minute limit. I don't really need to say to be civil in that. That's just
Understood.
That's expected, and since it's not on, unless you're talking about an item on the agenda, we can't really respond to you.
Understood?
So we're just here you can address the town or the village board as a whole and
Understood.
make your comment.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Linda Ports. My husband Darwin and I live at South 72 West 26480 Kings Peak Avenue in the village of Vernon. We are here tonight to voice our complaint regarding the property owners directly to the east, Valerie Schultz Studer and Gerard Studer. The situation began in late spring, early summer, when we called Spectrum to investigate a long-time exposed cable running from the corner cable box through Studer's backyard. A day or so later, a Waukesha County Sheriff deputy came to our door saying that an accusation had been made by Studer that we had cut this cable. We told the deputy we had not. In June, Studer planted grapevines along the property line. We then received a phone call from Valerie accusing Darwin of cutting down some of his plants. She also implied that it may have been our adult son while mowing our lawn. We told her we did not, nor did our son. Studer then put up an unsightly orange snow fence along the lot line. After this accusation, Studer had a surveillance camera installed with 5 signs posted on the property line facing our lot only. I have photos to show there are no warning signs in the front of his house or on the east side of the property. We returned home from our grandson's graduation on August 2nd to find 5 additional signs posted on the lot line. You disgrace our neighborhood with vandalism, and the Lord knows what you did wrong, are 2 of them. These signs measure approximately 23 by 18 inches and are sitting approximately 7.5 feet above the ground. These signs, the surveillance signs, and the snow fencing were all put up when we were away from our home. He has since installed bright motion lights that literally light up half of our lot at night when activated. We have lived in our house for almost 40 years and have worked hard to improve every aspect of our property. We never touched any of his plants, but living on the edge of the Vernon Marsh, we assume it was a deer, rabbit, or some other critter. I have sent photos to Karen Shue that I believe she has printed for your review. We welcome any members of this board to drive over to our house to see this for yourselves. We feel this has turned into an invasion of our privacy, harassment, defamation of character, and nonverbal abuse. We also fear that these actions may lower our property value. Any assistance the board may offer will be greatly appreciated, as we now have no contact with the Studers. Thank you for your time.
Can I trouble you with your address, please?
Sure, South 72, West 26480. 26480, Kings Peak Avenue. The Studer address is West 26440.
Is that Valerie Schultz?
Yes. The widow of Stephen.
I thought, maybe did something wrong there. S 72,
S72 West 26480,
yes,
Kings Peak.
that's right. Sorry.
No problem.
And we did get your photos.
Thank you, and thank you, Karen, for printing those off. I appreciate it.
Now, on our agenda today is a report of some zoning complaints, so that's an alternative for you as well to file a zoning complaint,
Okay.
so.
Well, we're just kind of following the steps right now. As Karen knows, we've already sat with Vince, the building inspector,
Okay.
2 weeks ago. And I sent a follow-up email just this past Monday, and I have not received a reply.
What was the name of the road?
Kings Peak.
Kings Peak Avenue. Kings.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further public comments? Okay, no further public comments. We will now get into our agenda, number 5. The first item up is RG Luckow and Elizabeth Lent, outstanding invoice. And we do have that in our board packet. Please come up and state, yep, please state your name and we know who you are, but state your name and address for the record.
Name is R.G. Luco and Elizabeth Lent.
Lot 0, Vernon Hills Drive in Vernon.
Yeah, there's no address on it.
That's
Oh,
correct.
okay. Okay. Okay, as the board knows, we have asked people to come in if they have a question or are disputing an invoice from the town. And we've got a handful, and we're trying to work our way through. And I know this has been outstanding since last winter, fall, and,
Yeah.
you know, we unfortunately hit COVID and as with everybody else, and we didn't meet in person, and now we're back meeting in person, so we're trying to get everyone in. So
Oh,
that
we'd like to
we
take care
could-
of it too. Yeah.
Right, to get, you know, some resolution on these.
Well,
and-
not only that, we'd like to continue to move forward.
Right, with your project, sure.
Yeah.
And as everyone knows, you know, on the board, we charge back property owners for planner and attorney fees when they want to develop their property, and this is a final certified survey map, and I know that you do have some fees, and a lot of them were paid. And so if there's a specific amount or charge that you are questioning,
Well,
then
yeah.
we should probably just get it up on the table here and.
Yeah, from the get-go, I mean, we're on the third round of the attorney fees. The first fee was $6,500.
Well, that was the error.
Hold on.
Remember that?
The second fee was $410. And now we're down to $281. My biggest problem, and I've told Karen this from the beginning, is lawyer fees and then the amount. For what? I mean, I no idea. And please remember, this was a conceptual drawing, which was nothing more than putting a box on a piece of paper and saying, can we build here? That's all it was. And we've got bills of up close to $1,000. So, and yes, and I have, after the first run, I paid Foth and Van Dyke on the first ones because, yeah, you know, I talked to him. He pointed me in the direction of going that way. as far as putting a conceptual drawing together to see if it would work out and see if you guys approved it. So yes, I spent time with him on the phone, and we did pay that portion of the bill. Then we got other bills from what do I say, Van Dyke, sorry, I'm dating
cool.
myself. There are some other bills that, on 116, coordinated with applicant, building inspector, tree survey, next step. Applicant correspondence, town hall, that was paid. And I completely agree with that one, and that's fine.
We did the tree survey.
And yes, we did. But there's an awful lot of municipal law and litigation group and lawyer fees that I have no idea. I mean, I really don't.
We have no description of what it's for.
None whatsoever.
And we've asked repeatedly for a description for several months and have gotten no response.
Yeah. And then the other one for Sean was prepare for and attend board meeting for the conceptual CSM, building envelope, plus travel.
I think his office is right there, isn't
No, it's not here. It's almost like, it's almost sounding like it's a little redundant, but I guess the big thing would be attorney fees, what was done.
Well, I'm looking at the paperwork here. We do send Attorney Macy's day by day and description.
But what Mr. Luckow has been asking from day one is he gets the same thing that you're saying. You know, what does this entail? What part of the statute does this apply to? Mr. Luckow and Elizabeth were asking valid question. I can't explain that.
What, Mike, I guess my question is, what does he build out at per hour?
199.
199? So you're looking at 2 hours of work for looking at a drawing with a box on it.
Well, I've got,
Which
just
you
looking,
probably didn't understand.
well, I wouldn't
Sorry.
say that.
No, I'm, you know,
What paperwork are you looking at, Carl?
Well, in our packet,
Yeah, got it, but I don't have that,
and I'm trying to follow along,
yeah,
so we can quickly move through it. You know, on January 28th, meeting town chair, town clerk, town planner, was the, initial meeting. We have meetings for items that, certified survey maps, doesn't matter if they're final or conceptual, and getting the agenda set and going through the packet for our plan commission and at that time, town board. And it takes time. So I would say I was part of that meeting. That meeting did take place, and that charge was appropriate. I mean, we're doing this as efficiently as we can on those days, and you'll see other people getting charged for on the same day, because we are going, and we're keeping track of time, plan commission, item by plan commission meeting, item on a, per minute basis, basically on a 6-minute increment. And that goes for also Sean Malarkey, our planner. And as far as some of these others, I see on 225, he's reviewing correspondence and pictures from the staff review. He reviews for legal issues, all of those, and then there's $30 charges, which is, it's 30 divided by 199, whatever that is, a quarter hour. So he's spending 15 minutes looking at what FOTH is doing and making sure your certified survey map, whether it's conceptual or not, is in accordance with our ordinances and that there aren't any issues. And we do that because we don't want residents or property owners to go down the path of development and then have him review it at the end and say, yeah, you can't do that under our ordinances. Well, that's why we have them look at preliminaries.
Excuse me, sir, but where are the ordinances for those fees on your website?
Well, our chargebacks, I don't know the ordinance right off the top of my head that says.
I'm sure the president is referring to portions of the zoning ordinance, and
And where is that on your website?
It's on, if you go Town of Vernon, it's under either departments. I know my department has ordinances, the planning department has ordinances.
The best place to find it on our website, if you go to townofvernon.org, under residents, and it comes over and you scan down and you hit ordinances, and it's all of our ordinances on
And you
there.
wanna-
And the zoning ones are in section 300.
Okay.
So that's what it's for.
I guess I'm,
And does it give a description then of what, for our invoices? Where's the description for our invoices that we've been asking for?
Did they
I
get
would just
that?
like to know where the
Everyone gets that.
Everybody
description
gets
for the
that.
invoices is that we've been asking for.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, they get, every person that gets billed back gets that. But they
Okay,
never,
did-
the difference is they never, any of the applicants never speak to the attorney, where there's interaction between the petitioners and Sean, but there's no dialogue with the attorney, so whatever he's looking at, they don't hear that discussion.
So we have no description for what we're paying for.
That is, the
Well, I
description
mean,
is-
the
That's-
description is here.
That
No.
does not seem reasonable.
hold on for a second here. It says on this one, it says meeting/town chair, town clerk, town planner, $99.50.
So you don't
Uh,
have a
hold-
description?
On the
That
front,
is the description.
hold on, and then on the front, it says lawyer fees, $281.50.
But it wasn't, RG, wasn't that a combination of planning and legal fees?
You know, I don't know.
Well, okay,
That's what we're asking.
that to me is an easy one. This is the invoice dated, invoice date 1/28/20. It
Correct.
says lawyer fees and it's cut off, $281.50. That's made up of $182 from Foth and $99.50. Attorney fees, that's $281.50. So you get a cover invoice, you get Foth's invoice, you get a statement from the attorney.
Oh. Okay, what does the 281 cover then? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because I've only got $99.50, which, $99.50, you see where I'm going with this? I just can't.
No,
follow
I
this.
guess personally, I don't see where you're going with it, because, I mean, Foth is 182, and attorney, I don't want to be abrupt or anything, but, I mean, Foth is 182, the attorney is 99.50, it's 281.50.
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time, please, I'm sorry.
Foth is 182, and the attorney is 99.50, and that totals up to 281.50. That's the invoice, however you want to refer to it.
No, that's not,
1/28/20 is the date at the top, 4/7/20, it's this one right here, okay?
that's fine.
Okay, so then,
I-
there's an invoice,
I've got, now, hold on.
Okay.
Now I can follow this. All it says on this is attorney fees and that's,
Okay.
I'm looking at attorney fees, okay, the attorney
you have these
fees,
2 pages of detail?
I've got a lot of pages. A lot of bills.
Here,
Yeah, they sent, you sent them.
But I think he's confused where it says, where it cuts it off.
Oh.
He's thinking it's, rightly so, it's all attorney fees, so it's a combination of both.
Some planner fees.
Okay, 99.
You guys follow it? You know where I am? Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so that's one, and then there's an invoice dated February 6th that just says planner fees, 3810, and then there's the detail, Sean Malarkey, planner appointment phone conversation. So that's another one, those go together. And then there's one dated
it's voided.
2/29/20,
That one's voided.
and that one is for lawyer fees and the word and it cuts off, that should be planner as well. And that is planner fees of $190.50, and then attorney fees of $220. And so that totals $410.50. So that's the third one that I have.
And this is all for a conceptual drawing too, isn't it?
And
Is this all for a conceptual drawing, sir?
I do believe that is correct. You're asking me to try to remember
So.
exactly
so
where we
these
were
notes
with
are
your,
from that here. And the tree survey. So we need to start doing some math on what they're charging us to do a conceptual drawing.
and then the last one is dated 4/28/2020, planner fees 157, and you've got Sean Malarkey, no attorney's fees on that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesus.
But again, we have our attorney look at conceptuals for compliance with our ordinances, and it's a little over an hour. For the 220, that's like an hour and 15 minutes. And
look at a square drawing.
to make sure that you're not running afoul and going down the road, and then we don't want people to come in and say, here's our good drawings, and go to plan commission, and Sean says they're okay, plan commission, then it goes to the attorney for a final, and he says, well, you're screwed this up. Well, then you're back to the beginning. It's cost you time and money. And again, our policy has always been to charge back developers, whether it's a simple certified survey map or what have you. It's not fair to the taxpayers in Vernon, because these are charges. If you don't pay them, if we don't charge the property owners, the taxpayers pay them. And on behalf of the people who live here,
But what
they
about
don't like to pay
future
this.
taxpayers?
pardon me?
What about future taxpayers who are trying to build the community and become members of the community?
It's fine. I'm,
Well, that may be
We
so,
had a-
but that's not
We
the
had to-
policy in the Vernon.
we had to pay a $50 fee to walk in the door. What did that cover?
Clerk's time,
Yeah, we didn't even
planner
do.
time to get started. I mean,
Okay,
Okay.
that's
You
fine.
know.
We're good.
Moving forward, where are the regulations and fees on your website to move forward with building on this property?
You know what, Elizabeth, I'll send you a link to the checklist, you have it?
You have it?
The checklist for, because you guys are coming for a finance season. Soon, right?
We have it.
Oh, you have it, oh, you do?
We've had it for quite a while.
We've had it for a while. We just couldn't meet.
Yeah, so October would be the soonest, but I'll email it out.
I will say this, okay? We've started this, we're going to finish this. But we are not the only ones out there that are really, 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 really bothered by this. There's a large number of people that have gone through and it paid the bills, quite frankly.
Well, like I was there first.
I've quite frankly never heard of this. This is crazy. But it is what it is, and we're gonna have to continue to go through it.
it's very common.
Not really.
No, it is
Very
not.
common.
No, it is not, sir, but, you
Because
wanna know
I
why we
will-
were trying
I
to
will
go
tell you
to Big
this.
Bend? It was because they made it easy. You make it very difficult.
I will tell you this. When I got that first bill, it was over $6,000, whether it was a mistake or not. You know what that felt like? Felt like, oh, you try to go annex, we'll show you. We'll back charge the time that he spent getting us back into Vernon.
And this is recorded, and we do have friends, and we
It's
do have
just,
people that
it's,
will watch it. So,
all I'm saying is,
just saying.
it's,
The point is.
it is what it is.
It
That's
is
all
what
it
it
is. That's all it is. So, thank you. You'll get the check. Huh?
Do we have to come back here for a final, or can we move through Vince?
Vince he's the building inspector here and in Big Bend, so yes, he'd be working with Vince and Sean.
From here on in?
So we can move forward with Vince from here on in. after we pay the stuff.
Oh, you can whether you pay it or not. We wouldn't record the certified survey map until all the fees are paid, but you always have paid everything on time, except for the issue with the legal, we
Right.
have questions on the
But
legal.
what I'm saying is, from here on in, we're with Vince
Well, and Sean,
and Sean.
and there'll be more legal fees.
Just so I get, I mean, the big question for us, and then we'll be done.
Where exactly are they in the process?
They have their final, they did a conceptual, which all people
Right.
do,
And
and
that
now,
was approved, wasn't it?
yeah,
Correct.
the concept was
Yeah,
approved,
okay.
and now they're gonna bring their final certified survey map to the October plan commission meeting.
Okay, so there'll be planner fees there,
And-
attorney fees to
What are
review
the
the final.
attorney fees there for?
It's got, there, he's reviewing it for legal compliance with our ordinances and you need to record it.
Okay.
We're not gonna give you, we're not gonna approve something you can't record.
I will say, and that's fine, and no problem, we'll take care of it. So we'll turn that in,
And I'll email you tomorrow everything that you need to bring it forth to October, but that's gonna go to Sean more than Vince.
So what we have is the delineated wetland and combining the properties for a tax code. And that's what we need to bring. And then we're done with this attorney and all of this stuff.
As soon,
And we just move forward with things.
yeah, as soon as the final certified survey map is approved by the plan commission and the village board, then it's recorded, Vince gets a copy, then you start working with Vince right away.
all right,
And you're not gonna need a zoning permit because your certified survey map, you're working with the planner, so
Okay.
that'll be, you won't be
Sounds
charged
good.
for a zoning permit.
okay,
That's all.
Yeah, the soonest we can get in is October, but
Yeah,
I'll email you
we'll
that.
get it in. Now, did you say that, okay, do I send these payments to you guys, or do I have to
Yeah.
send it to?
It's all, cause we've already paid, the Vernon's already, so you just
Good,
mail
all
us.
right, good,
And then you can
just wanna
submit
make sure I got the
your,
right place.
your final certified survey map like tomorrow, and then have Sean start working on it, cause he'll work with you and your surveyor.
Okay.
Is there a plan review fee then?
No. There is a final certified survey fee,
Sure,
yeah.
And is that on your website?
Yeah, and I'll email you that application tomorrow. You got it? Okay.
all right. Well, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, next. Well,
It is what it is.
well, it is, and,
What you gotta pay for, it, you were right.
if, it's either the general taxpayers, property owner, existing, or the person who wants to do something with their property. And it's been made clear many times, not only at this level, but with our residents. As people have told me, they don't care if another person builds a house in Vernon. They just don't wanna pay for it.
Well,
And the people who moved in, like myself, I paid for everything.
in
So-
regard to that, Carl, when people come in, do they get a detailed explanation of what it's going to?
You can't. You can't really, Gary. I mean, what they're told right from the very beginning, when they always, everyone contacts me at first.
Right.
I send them an email and I make them clearly understand in the email that you have to read this document and sign. There's going to be planner fees, there's going to be legal fees, there may be engineering fees, there might be surveying fees. That's all, those engineering all go into the planner per se. But what the president stated is, it is better, you know, I can't expound on legal, but it is better to have a legal look at it right from the beginning, because as the president stated, you take it along, and Sean is really good, but he's not an attorney. So John's looking out for the legal issues.
That's what the attorney's there for.
Right.
You know, because we could get in a world of trouble if we just ramrod stuff through without anybody really, you know, I know Macy's not cheap, but he's still cheaper than a lawsuit.
In the newsletter too, I've tried, and I'll do that again, repeat what an average fee of the average of what legal and planning fees, and we try to tell people, this is an average. If you have any type of, if you have something extenuating circumstances on a certified survey map, not only are you gonna pay more for your own survey, but it's gonna be more costly to the town also. So we try to prepare them as much as possible.
Well, and as far as annexation comment, you know,
Yeah, I'm
they,
a little upset with that.
well, they can't any longer, and I'm not sure why you'd want to annex to a community with a tax rate $6 a thousand higher.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean-
Where you get off things cheaper. They got 11 acres up there.
Right.
And they wanna develop it into single-family homes.
And I can assure you that every other community around here does the same thing.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Waukesha, Mukwonago, Muskego is one of the worst, you know, as far as fees. And we do try to minimize them to the extent we can, and it's impossible to say, because when they come in, and it's the $50 application fee, that's to cover her time and your staff time, getting all that information in the first place. We don't make profits, we're just passing along our costs, and that's what the $50 is, but then when it comes to professional fees, you know, that's a separately charged out, and of course, they don't get charged any of my time, or your time, or the plan commission time, so, that they all, you know, like I say, we don't make any money on this whatsoever.
A lot of times when they come in, they should be alert that they're not just coming in to talk to you and you're starting to discuss business. They need to know that they're on the clock, that this is costing them money.
Yeah, well, they do, I mean,
And
they
we're
sign an
cordial,
agreement. yeah.
friendly, but that does not necessarily mean they're not gonna be charged.
Right. Okay, well, we can move on to letter B. At least they're not doing their certified survey map twice, like Mr. Sparks is,
Yeah.
for example. This was at our last, I'll tee it up here if I can. This was at our, trustee Mahalik and Swanee know, but at our plan commission meeting last week, and we had approved a final certified survey map for Mr. Sparks at the address listed in the agenda, way back in September, October last year. And when we were a town, we're subject to extraterritorial zoning and plat review by Muskego, New Berlin, City of Waukesha, Village of Big Bend, and Village of Mukwonago. And it's whoever is the closest. And in his particular case, it was the City of Waukesha. So we approved his final certified survey map almost a year ago, and it was sent off to Waukesha, for the City of Waukesha, for their approval, and it sat there. And never got approved, and sat there, and sat there. So, now we were a village, and we're no longer subject to that as a village. And so since it was never approved by the city or recorded, he came back and said, hey, I'm tired of waiting. And so we said, you know, we try to help people out. We did this for the Alexes in the Helverson house. And Mr. Hibbert, did we do that yet?
No, we did Mr. Hibbert's,
The old way, yeah. And so, you know, so what we did at the plan commissions, after Sean explained it, was to rescind their, as the plan commission, they're recommending to the board, rescind the recommendation to the board to approve it with conditions, and then, in effect, reapprove it, or re-recommend it, I should say, right? Re-recommend it to us, the village board, for approval. And I think the only thing that's different is we took off the approval by the City of Waukesha right on the document.
and Waukesha County.
And Waukesha County. That's the other thing, being a village, we're really out of the county. So, again, if people are still wondering why we became a village, you know, this is yet another reason why we did, and notwithstanding our future residents, I guess, and our residents now, comments to the contrary, this is a benefit to, you know, current residents and future ones. property owners. So, with that, I see if I can make a motion here to get us going and get back on track. So I will, make a motion that the Village of Vernon Board concurs with the Village of Vernon Plan Commission recommendation to rescind and reapprove the final certified survey map for David Sparks, and further, the Village of Vernon Village Board rescinds the Town of Vernon Board approval and approves the final certified survey map request for David Sparks, being all of lots 9 and 10 of Millbrook Village, Village of Vernon, Wisconsin, subject to the conditions stated in the full staff review report dated August 11th, 2020.
I'll second that.
And those two conditions are in his reports. It's satisfy all conditions and pay your fee. So he was, this was down to ready to go. Is there, and we had I made a motion, second by Trustee Mahalik. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. President, I just want to state, Mr. Sparks is, very thankful and wanted to point out that he's grateful that other people will not have to pay the fees that he did to other communities for approval of there's the cost savings right there. The duplication of services no longer exists for our now village residents. But Mr. Spark is very, very appreciative of all of you.
So the other ones charge fees too. Again, just like we do, they'll charge fees just to review what we've done. So it's avoided, those fees are avoided too.
Did you ever hear why the city was sitting on this such a long time?
No, it was approved. He just never picked it up.
It's just that
I'll
they,
send you everything. Then you guys get it.
Thank you.
Okay?
it's just that they moved really slowly or they just put it on the stack and forgot it, so.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story with Mr. Sparks.
No, it went through the process and, for a particular reason, Mr. Sparks didn't pick it up.
Oh,
and-
okay.
And now we changed, and so, he could have, just reapplied, but he just said, well, I'll just redo it the right way.
Okay.
So he's happy, everybody's happy.
That's
Right.
anyway.
Just an extra charge for planning and legal, but,
And he knows that.
yeah. Okay, now we're on letter C, building inspector report regarding filing zoning complaints. Unfortunately, Vince couldn't be with us tonight, but he did want it on the agenda. I'm not sure if we need to take any action, but I did tell Vince that I would give a report, because it leads into my letter D, which is the next one, which I think we may need to take some action depending on how the board feels. But I did talk to Vince. He did provide everyone with a field report. So that was one item he wanted to talk about. And this is the cell tower site on Artesian Avenue. And so talking mostly about the condition of the property and the condition of the barn, and complete with pictures. There's really nothing to decide there. He does address some of the complaints, zoning violation complaints, in his report. So I think that's important. He did want to raise some issues that he came across at a future staff meeting, which we'll get on the agenda, next staff meeting, which I don't know that we figured out a date yet, but, yeah, well, we're gonna need one soon. I mean, we just had one, and it was a long meeting, but I thought that was a very good meeting. It's a good meeting. It was a very good meeting to get everything out, so we'll have to look at our calendars in September and pick something in September or October, I would think, for our next staff meeting. So he wants to put on the staff meeting agenda, and I know we're gonna get to, at the end of the agenda, about other changes we need to make to zoning and so on, so we need to kind of keep a running list and keep going on everything. There was, he did talk to me about the zoning violations over in Millbrook Circle and with the junk cars, the vehicles.
Yeah.
And I do believe a ticket's going to be issued there for those, where at least there was talk about it.
If anybody's heard whether that property's been foreclosed on. I've heard a lot of rumors that, the people have been foreclosed on, that they can't come up with any substantial, and the town, I mean, the village really doesn't get involved with that, you know, we don't know. My wife even asked me, I said, that's between the bank and the property owner, we don't know.
Right, a foreclosure on a particular property comes from secured lenders, anybody with a mortgage or tax lien, like the county,
Yeah,
or a lender, or I suppose creditors who get judgments against them,
yeah,
could foreclose on them. But yeah, that's not the village at all.
no,
Vernon has nothing to do with that.
no. We've had this instance happen before, you know, and we stayed away from it, and it kind of rectified itself, but, it takes time, you know, these things don't happen overnight, and right now, I don't even know if people can get foreclosed on.
Well, yeah, there have been moratoriums because of COVID.
Yeah,
Put on foreclosure actions and evictions. I'm not sure where all that stands in Wisconsin presently, but.
okay,
Okay, so, and he did talk about, someone, illegally operating a business out of his home on Center, and he wanted to issue that person a ticket as well. There are also other instances that I'm aware of, and I talked to Vince about, down on County Line Road, somebody operating their business down there. And, as well as his list from staff meeting of, you know, we usually start off by saying, you know, write a letter and get into compliance before we get to tickets. So that was Vince's report. Do you have anything else to add? I think that's it.
No, just the normal violations that he's trying to handle.
Right. And again, I think our policy has always been, you know, let's get these property owners into compliance as opposed to, you know, writing tickets, that kind of thing. So any questions there? Otherwise, we'll go to the next issue, one that I put on the agenda, because I just want to make sure the village board understands how, if we are going to issue a ticket or tickets for zoning violation, what that ticket would look like. And we have a schedule of cash deposits, or bond schedule as we call it. And what our ordinances say, that when you write a ticket, you look to the bond schedule, that's the dollar amount, and then we add on all the court costs, and you've got a schedule on how those are calculated, and they add up.
Yep, yeah, they do,
They add up. And that's the dollar amount that goes on the ticket. Well, the way our bond schedule reads now, and I just want to make sure, because obviously it was done on purpose at one time, is that zoning violations are not listed on it. So when you look on it, hey, what deposit amount do you start with? There is no deposit amount there. So I start reading the statute, and I did talk to Attorney Macy in our attorney call. I think he mentions it in here, that, you know, on it. If there's not established on the bond schedule, then it's the maximum forfeiture permitted. Well, the maximum forfeiture permitted in our ordinances for zoning ranges from $10 to $2,000 per day.
oh,
And so if you would ask me this morning what should be on that ticket, I would say it's $2,000. So, because it's not on the, and then the 2,000 is, then you add on all this. Now, again, it's a ticket, and you have to go to court, and the court can impose, this is the deposit, the court can impose whatever fine in accordance with our, so they could lower the amount. But if you don't wanna go to court and you just write the check, well, you know, then you don't have to go to court. So that's the point of it all. And before, you know, tickets are issued here for $2,000, because that's what they would be, I said, well, let's put it on the agenda to see if the board wanted to, you can say, yep, this is a hammer, let's get them into compliance. If they just pay their ticket, okay, they pay their ticket. If they go to court, you know, the judge might give them a break, particularly if he's cleaned up his property or stopped whatever he was doing before. And I look at our zoning code and say, well, you know, we're pretty, you know, clean up your property, and this is the hammer at the end when people don't comply. If they're running a business out of their home or out of their premises without their appropriate permits, they're making money, and I don't want our tickets to turn into quote-unquote parking tickets. Well, I'm making more than that here. I'm keeping going. So, sorry. So, that's why I put it on the agenda, to see what your thoughts are. If you do nothing, it's $2,000. If you wanna, propose to add, zoning violations to our, first offense, X dollars, second offense doubles, third offense doubles again, or however you wanna word it, that would be okay too. But I wanted just to call it to everyone's attention. And I think you do have you gave us the list. So you can see what we do for other things. Yeah, on the bond schedule.
Well, my opinion, we're very lenient
Oh, here.
in regard to,
Say again, Gary?
we're kind of lenient, in regard to our dealings with people. We don't go out of our way to generate funds. Karen sends, I don't know, at least once or twice on Vince's recommendation letters, and he makes personal visits out to the properties and informs the people if they're not in compliance, there's going to be problems. Some of these people just don't care, and I think to get their attention, I don't have a really big problem with imposing fines on people, because they get at least 3 or 4 warnings that I'm aware of, prior to any kind of action by us or the sheriff.
What's the point in having these rules if we're not gonna enforce them?
That's another good
And
point.
I kinda like the threat of a hammer a little bit more than
Than actually using it?
than actually having to use it. But if they know it's gonna cost them a couple grand right away,
It's attention.
maybe they'll go jump into compliance faster for us.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I mean, I could go either way. I think the doubling and tripling on second and third offenses, if you guys, if the view of the board is, well, maybe we should start at a lower number, I would say, well, let's try to get to the higher number as, quickly as possible, even on if you wanna go 1,000, double it on the second offense, that I vote for that. If you wanna keep it at 2,000, I could go for that too. So I don't, I agree with both of you that, and again, we're just trying to get people to comply with our
Well, and I
ordinances.
think when you come out with a fine, it's truly an attention getter. You get a piece of paper, it's like what people do with parking tickets. But when you come out with a fine, okay, and Karen, is that added to their tax bill then, or does that go to the county?
Yeah, that never goes on a tax bill because that's between them and the courts collect it.
The courts, okay, but it's one, then they're a little deeper doo-doo, okay, and I think that's it's something that you have to do for some people that just don't get it.
Is there an amount that differentiates it, like from a,
First offense, second offense, third offense?
well, no, I was thinking more on whether it was a felony or a misdemeanor type charge. I know
Well,
if you,
gradations of your violation. If
Yeah.
it's,
The big ones go to big ones, they can cite them on a county or a state charge. They write those, they don't need our little, yeah, these are mainly our laws, our
Yeah, our
ordinances, yeah,
ordinances.
so. All the big guns, they don't need us, but when we need them, this is what we're using, our bond schedule or our zoning ordinance, to enforce. And just so you know, when residents are made aware of it, 95% of our residents comply right away. The problem Vince has in these particular 2 cases, these are habitual. I mean, and Vince, I've never seen Vince mad, but he's pretty not happy with these 2.
In other words, he's not getting their cooperation.
Right.
Year after year after year,
Right, and I know that one has been cited
twice.
twice before,
And-
like in 2018 and
And
2015.
multiple letters before that.
Right.
And Gary can attest to the constant, and the poor Doug and the plow guys, I mean, it's a constant problem.
Yep.
so is the remedy to put the zoning on the bond schedule?
Well, if we can leave the bond schedule as is, and then the ticket would be written for $2,000 plus all the court costs. Automatically. If you want to have a lower deposit amount, then it needs to be on the bond schedule. So then the remedy is to add zoning violations to the bond schedule at a lower amount. Then we would say, okay, it's on the schedule, it's $1,000, let's say, or whatever you wanna say.
Well, how would, if you don't put it on the bond schedule, how would Tommy Tentbag be able to look up and see what his fine's gonna be?
I would say, when I send a citation, I send where in the zoning code or in the ordinance, what they've violated. And then I also send them the fee schedule and or the verbiage in the violation and penalty clause of the zoning code. Where it says that the board may choose from 10 to 2,000 and all attorneys recommend going right for the big guns. And then when they go to court, and one of these cases is mandatory appearance in court. And then, as the president stated, there might be some negotiation between our attorney, the petitioner, and the judge, so. But John said if you want, our attorney had indicated if you want to get somebody's attention,
This will do it.
you give them the hammer.
Give them the hammer, give them the maximum.
Yep.
And so that's really what we've been doing. I mean, in theory, have been doing, since it's not on the bond schedule now, this particular instant, he received other, I don't know where those dollar amounts came from, because I didn't go back and research it, but today, I look at it, it's $2,000. I think John concurs with that.
Yeah.
Or Attorney Casey concurs with that.
Just for clarity, we're referring to it as a deposit in that bond schedule. So when we say, okay, you've been doing this too long, you gotta do, here's, your fee would be $2,000. They have to put that money up front into some account somewhere,
I think that's determined in
and
court.
that's determined by the court,
That determines.
what they really end up having to pay.
Right.
Yeah,
And what happens is court is our attorney is gonna bring forth all the documentation of all the warnings we gave them, documentation from witnesses, eyewitnesses to the fact, affidavits of statements, so our attorney will present to the court why the town is doing what they're doing.
Okay.
It's not
And-
that we just arbitrarily like to raise money by fining somebody.
And the courts will see this is year after year after year. And you, we do so many, I shouldn't say so many, but a lot of letters where people, I don't think they realize they are violating. Once they get the letter, they might need a little time. If they do, those come back to you and they explain why. Vince can't extend it. But most people can comply within the 30 days. Some are given 15, but some of those 15 ones are people that are kind of habitual, that Vince is saying, come on. They're not habitual, but they've violated before, so Vince does try to work with them, and if they need an extension, they have to come to the board and ask and explain why, and usually there's a pretty good reason for, they can't make the deadline of 30 days, but.
Now, Attorney Macy mentioned in his notes, the max amount, who set that max amount?
It's in the zoning code,
That's
Jim?
a standard,
Yeah,
that a prior town board.
but it still was
who
our
approved-
ordinance.
Yes.
Approved the ordinance, set the maximum,
from $10
from
to
$10 to $2,000.
$2,000.
Okay.
Well, again, that goes to the nature of the offense. One junk
Yeah.
car, he didn't know about it, might be smaller than a guy with 10 junk cars, and he
Right.
knows about it, right? And he
Right.
doesn't move them, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's a range, and there probably should be a range.
our attorney could bring the DPW department in, because he said, do you have any witnesses? It's like, oh boy.
Vince is not a vindictive person. He does a good job in regard to what he has to work with and everything. And he's more than easy to work with. All you have to do is talk to him. And I know that he's more than willing to sit down with the person. He's done it in the past and allow them some extra time if they say that, well, I can't clean it up right away. Give me, and Vince has been more than willing to do that. It's not like he just goes out and says, yeah, I'm fine with it.
No, I agree with you, Gary.
So we need a motion to,
Well, yeah, if you wanna add an amount to the bond schedule, so that we start out at a number lower than 2,000, then we'll need a motion. Otherwise, if we take no action,
It stays.
it stays as is,
Right, I would think,
you know? If we do nothing, it stays as is. You might have,
That sounds good to me.
okay,
me too.
okay,
Should I
well,
just put back consensus?
by
I think
consensus,
it was unanimous consensus to
Yeah.
concur
I
with the
think
zoning.
Macy said it was a policy.
Yep.
it was a policy decision, and
In place.
and so therefore, the tickets are written for the maximum amount for zoning violations is $2,000.
Yep, okay,
So we'll put that as the consensus,
yes, I have that, sir.
and so that it's clear in our minutes, that's what we decided. Okay, well, again, like I say, I put it on here so that everybody was fully aware, especially if tickets are going out, we may get complaints about that.
With the consensus, with one of our trustees being absent, how does that work in what do you say, you just say consensus? You don't have to
You
say.
have a quorum of your board, when the quorum of your board makes a decision, it doesn't matter if someone's
Yeah,
absent or
thank
not.
you, I was just curious, thank you.
And just so the board knows, the president has already asked for this particular item to be on your next staff meeting, so you can ask Vince and John and
Okay.
go have some extended dialogue with our staff members. Right, Mr. President?
Yes, that's right, yes. Okay, we are now on the letter F, meeting date for new IT issues and new email service, and I
Excuse me,
think,
what about E?
oops, I'm sorry.
Overdue.
Meeting date to hear,
He doesn't want to do that one.
yeah. I don't want to hear this. No. Meeting date to hear accounts receivable overdue invoices. We did have one meeting tonight,
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
and we did have one with the Halverson House, Alex's,
right.
several weeks ago. And, we've got
Three more.
3 more, and I suppose we could put them on regular village board meetings, or I know we're meeting, our finance committee is meeting every Wednesday practically, September 16th,
Yeah.
23rd, and 30. We could put them in ahead of that, the first one's up, or, because our finance committee is the whole board and the finance committee, we could do it then,
Yeah.
if that would be, easier. I think we've always heard people, like tonight. I mean, I think in the Alexes, we've always heard them out.
They may not like it, but we hear them, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, they understand where we're coming from, too.
Yeah, they should.
Yep.
And, like you say, we have three to go, and these are from last year, and we need to get them resolved. And again,
Are they,
with COVID, we got
big
way
ones?
behind, so.
big ones, or just the brush pickup things, or,
Oh,
No,
no, we
these-
haven't even done anything. Brush pickup, you're probably just gonna put on the tax bills or,
okay.
That'll be on a future meeting.
you have the Vernon Lutheran Church, you have the Bosses,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jim's Woodworking. You have 3 left.
And the bosses are the pond over there,
Yeah.
and,
the church.
well, they've complained once, we've got to decide. And the church is, with the conditional use and the whole, the
They
whole
changed it.
conversion from the county to the town, and now it's
They went
transitioned to
from
the,
smaller to bigger.
a village.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's an unfortunate situation too, but I'm not so sure what we could do about that one. And then, Jim's woodworking is delinquent personal property
Oh, him.
taxes. So, we've had him, yeah,
He called me complaining about it again. He said he hasn't done any business in a couple of years. Why is he still getting invoices?
And
But
I
he's
mean,
still
I
old.
understand his point.
I think it didn't pay him.
I don't think Jim was on the board when we finally got the document that
No,
that we
he wasn't.
needed. I got it this year.
oh, yeah,
It's,
you were not, yeah.
it's a signed document from Jim's Woodworking saying that he does not, that's what Cal needs. He can't take a verbal. It's just like me with my absentee ballots. You have to have something in writing if there's ever an audit or if there's any,
Yeah,
so that's what he needed to stop the personal property tax, and Jim thought that it was done, and
it was.
we can't do anything about the 2019, but this goes back several years, that the personal property tax was paid by all the taxpayers,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
He hasn't responded back. I'll try again to
That's
see if
where
he
the
wants to
problem
come
is.
in.
Right, and I would like to get these resolved,
Oh, yeah.
one
you
way
don't
or
have to-
another. I know we were delinquent, for obvious reasons, but
you don't want
there
to-
is if we are gonna, put them on property tax bills, we've got to do that by a certain date. November, so I would like all of these like wrapped up by October 31.
The personal property one you can't put on, but that one you could take to court
Right. So that'll be the decision on that one.
twice.
Twice we've been to court.
Yes.
Yeah, it would behoove him to, because
pay up.
once
Once you go to court, then you get all the
oh my
court costs.
God.
You ain't gonna win.
He's
And the
not gonna
survey
win.
and-
Oh. It just goes up and up and up.
Yeah, then you pay more and more and more.
And, the representative from the Vernon Lutheran Church, said he'll come anytime you want him to come, he'll come. The bosses have some health issues, they can't come this month at all.
I
This
like the
month,
idea-
August or month of September?
August, they can't come at all.
Okay.
I like the idea of it before one of our finance meetings, you know, that's a
Yeah,
good
it's good.
time to do it.
Save everybody.
25th.
Yes.
Save us a night.
23rd way good. September 16th, fire department's in, that's gonna take all afternoon, I'm guessing, so, for a number of reasons.
Yes.
And that's the biggest item in our budget too. It's just a very difficult,
And long-winded, chief.
meeting. So yeah, the 23rd or the 30th, and we could, what time did we agree to meet at 1, right?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, so we could have them in right at 1, and they'll be done by 1:15, and we can start at 1:30 at the latest, and then we can start our regular budget stuff.
Right.
Carl, off the top of your head, who's scheduled for September 23rd?
The rec, Mike Zolecki with the rec department,
Right.
and John Henneberry is DPW on the 30th.
Yeah, the DB, I had that.
And I have all 6 meetings in October. Jim, your head went whoop.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, so we can offer up the 23rd or 30th,
Yes.
okay.
1 o'clock, and to all of them, we'll take one. I mean, I suppose if they both wanna come on the same day, then maybe 1 and 1 and 1:30, but
Right.
if they come on different days, probably be better, then we can just, kind of knock them out one at a time, and then we have the month of October too, so. And if we need to make decisions, we can put it on it, well, we'll have it on the agenda, if we need to make decisions as a board, we can make it there, and, right at that meeting, so, okay. Meeting dates, IT issues and new email service.
Yes, Ron he wants you to, he wants to, teach you about your new email service and also bring up some of the extenuating issues related to IT security also. And he can do anything on the 26th or the 27th, morning or afternoon. I don't know if Lorraine got that.
August, that is?
Yep, August,
Yeah, August, yes, I'm sorry.
Both of those are good for me.
What days are those?
Tuesday,
Wednesday the
Thursday.
26th, or
Wednesday, Thursday.
Thursday the 27th. Or you're looking for the week.
And was there a thought, morning, afternoon, Karen?
Whatever works, Ron would make whatever work.
Oh,
with the
whatever,
board.
okay. So I'm free all day, so whatever the convenience of the board.
Yep. he
What
go-
time do you want to get punished by IT? 9 o'clock?
Or 10?
Or 10?
I
If
don't
you
think
go in
that's,
the morning, it doesn't matter to me either day either, so.
Matter for you?
not gonna, it'll work, it doesn't work for Lorraine.
Oh, okay. Either day?
No, she's going on vacation.
Oh, she'll be gone that week.
And I didn't ask Ron about
The following week.
Alternates.
you, is there, yeah, September is Labor Day.
Yeah, September 7 is Labor Day, and we have,
Well, we could do it then, we don't have anything scheduled. I'm just saying.
I'm glad to see you got your sense of humor.
I'm sorry, sir?
you can have it over the union hall.
There you go.
They're training, they got nice audio,
Yeah.
visual, and, stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Jim, even though you're not feeling well, you got a sense of humor, that's good.
What about the second, September 2nd?
What day is that?
That's a Wednesday. How are,
That's fine with me.
Yeah, me too.
how are Wednesdays with you and your sister?
Yeah, that would work. Now,
Would it be
that-
worth
we have an
calling
attorney
him now?
call. I'm thinking probably on the first,
To call Ron and see if he could do whatever dates we're talking about, second, third, or whatever.
While the president's talking, I'll text him.
yeah,
Yeah,
Wednesday
'cause-
the 2nd, we've got a meeting on the 3rd. We
Yes.
do have a call, I have a call with
you know, our regular agenda
Yeah,
call with the attorney.
with Macy.
And, it's the first of the month, so sometimes those calls are at 9 in the morning, and sometimes at 1:30, depending on Macy's schedule.
Yeah,
And, typically, our second meeting, they're at 9. The first of
Is
the
it?
month, the first meeting is, sometimes he has to switch it to 1:30, so.
what's it fine?
So
with
either
you?
way, I mean.
You let
it-
us know. You know,
Yeah, I
when-
mean, if you guys can make it either, you know, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
10,
Prefer 10.
yeah, 9 or 10 in the morning, or 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll just work around, we'll flip-flop with Macy, and so then
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
do both. I don't, what's Ron think, an hour?
Oh, yeah,
To
that,
treat
yeah, that'd be
everybody?
good, yep.
Yeah, so figure out.
Bring our
how-
tablets.
You can, but the service that you have will probably work easier on your home computer. A lot easier, or your phone, or,
What
it's so
phone?
secure.
I don't have a phone.
Mhm.
Oh, Brian must be sleeping. I'll get a date.
Okay.
Is that,
Okay.
But
but
you know,
September 3rd is a possible one?
Yeah.
September 3rd was Thursday, yeah,
Yes.
we have a board meeting at night, so.
Yeah,
And did you say the second is out?
Second, it might be possible too.
Yeah, second, if that works for you. and
Okay, second,
Okay.
and second or third?
Tuesday, yeah,
Second or third?
that wouldn't
Yep, yep.
interfere with your call. Okay, Ron must be sleeping, which he never does.
Either that or he's putting out some other client's fire. Been hacked.
Yes.
Okay, so through F, G, is direction and appointments to the Village of Vernon Personnel Committee. Remember, we discussed that at last meeting. First off, I'd like to thank prior members. Now, when we had our meeting as a new village in June, we did not establish a personnel committee, and last meeting, we said, yeah, we need one, nothing else. The handbook,
yeah.
and everyone on our old personnel committee term has expired, and that would include, I think, old supervisor Jeff Millies was on there, Keith Grams was on there, Jamie Schleisman was on there, and Mike Jambritz, who I don't know. Schleisman was on there, and who I don't know, so I thank all of those gentlemen for their service. And we solicited for appointments. I do believe trustee Dashick volunteered. Patricia Schleisman, who is Jamie Schleisman's wife, she just retired. She was an HR director. So, and she agreed.
Yes.
Marie Kumarshek, I think you know, she used to be our clerk here, treasurer here. Mary DeGrave, just retired. She used to work for Social Security Administration, and she had some hiring and firing responsibilities as a manager. So that came from trustee Dashick's suggestion. Obviously, we can have another trustee on this committee as well. Our clerk treasurer will be liaison, and I think the direction I would like to see the personnel committee do is we gotta get our employee handbook put into shape, and depending upon the charter ordinance, you know, get hard job descriptions for a treasurer, clerk administrator, and so on, going forward. So that's the way I would see that, part of that employee policy handbook. I'd like to see our expense reimbursement rules put in there, and instead of scattered amongst 5 resolutions, which is where they are now.
Oh,
Here we only have 4, and I think you can have around like
Up to 7, right? Under our ordinance, yeah, Attorney Macy said, hey, you know, our ordinance says up to 7, we're supposed to stagger terms. So it's a start with 4. Obviously, there's no, everything will come back to the board for approval. So
Yeah.
it's not like they're setting policy or something.
It's just like odd numbers.
Yeah, more would be better. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to get started, as what I'm thinking. We could start with 4 and add 3 more if you'd like.
or you could have another board member volunteer.
Another board member, that would be odd. I'm a little reluctant to get involved in another committee simply because I know it's going to be happening with Finance Committee in September and October. And our zoning code and conditional uses, which is on the agenda for future homework. I'm not gonna say too much about that. And we've got shared services. I know we've got something coming up. You guys are gonna have something coming up with the Village of Waukesha, and Jim and I just were
Big Bend.
her Big Bend, and I think those are gonna be serious discussions.
Hope so.
You
I
know,
mean, it would be good if you are.
So,
Not that this isn't.
yeah, not that, right. Well, I'm just saying, this personnel committee is pretty serious too.
Yeah, right.
Well, you could do a commercial right now that you're still looking for.
Yeah, we're still looking if you got particularly HR experience. It'd be very helpful.
Yeah.
Or managerial experience in
Yeah.
hiring and firing.
Yep. But at least you got 4 to start.
Yeah, that's a good start.
So I would, I'd make a motion to appoint to establish a Village of Vernon Personnel Committee and appoint trustee Lorraine Dashick, Patricia Schleisman, Marie Kumashek, and Mary DeGray.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, they're appointed. I'd also make a motion to direct the new Village of Vernon Personnel Committee to begin work on,
Yeah.
the employee handbook and depending on where we go with the charter ordinance, job descriptions with the clerk and the treasurer positions.
Shouldn't it include all employees?
Yeah, and all employees.
I mean, the clerk treasurer is not the only employee.
Right, comma, DPW director, comma.
Yeah.
Seasonal people, deputies.
And other employees of the
Rec
Village of Vernon. Right, how's that?
Yes. Just wanted to point out, it's not just for me, or,
Right, it's not.
Yeah.
No. So, did you get that?
yeah. Was that
Motion.
was that a motion?
That was a motion to give the personnel committee some direction.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I did second.
And any discussion or additions, I suppose I can do a friendly amendment. That's a pretty big slate right there, so.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorize clerk treasurer to contact labor attorney, well, back on personnel, to obtain, to contact labor attorney or obtain other examples of new employment manual. I'll make that motion to authorize the clerk treasurer to do
Second.
that. Support?
Shouldn't,
Discussion.
thank you. Shouldn't it say and rather than or? Because I would think that Attorney Marsick
Uh-huh.
would have some valid input.
Okay, I'll make,
And of course, getting samples of somebody else's
Would be great,
would be,
Right.
I think, real helpful.
but I think it would be optimum to go to our labor attorney, something that they have not he, but the firm has drafted, and, because Jim, I'm sure the whole board knows how labor law changes every 14 seconds. You know,
especially now.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But there are some communities that have some pretty nice examples,
Mhm.
but of course, I'm not a labor attorney, so that's why when I
Well-
spoke to the president,
You could ask the attorney to get us some current samples
of other communities
of other communities,
that they've
you
drafted.
know.
Yeah, I would like to have something that they've reviewed, simply because when we send it to our labor lawyer for review, it's always gonna be a lot cheaper if the base document is something they've already reviewed,
Right, yeah.
you know? And
Don't
we're not
invent-
trying to
don't
recreate
reinvent
the
the
wheel
wheel.
here.
Well,
We're
yeah.
not
Reinventing.
special here in Vernon as
Right.
opposed to other municipalities.
But you do want a municipal
I would think so.
employment manual, government,
Right, because there are issues with state statutes, appointment of the treasurer, appointment of the clerk. Fire department, people, and with the fire commission, I mean, it's all, there's statutory, it's not a private business, there's statutory requirements for municipal governments. So you just can't pull them from, oh yeah, I used to work at this company.
Right.
So do you want a friendly amendment, change the word or to and?
I would recommend that.
Yeah, I would
Is there-
concur,
Okay, you're the friendly second, right?
yes.
So I'll make that friendly amendment with a friendly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Timber cutting. And this is the only place where I was really getting stuck on the agenda. And we did get some information from the county. I'm not sure what we need to do.
Just let the poor guy cut.
I mean,
I mean, I realize COVID hit, but the property, you know, this happens all over Vernon, not all over.
Not
But
the
our,
wetland,
but our,
right?
no, oh God, no. It's staked out, and he works with the DNR on where they're actually gonna cut the all the property owners that have that, you know, I could give you a list of names that are in managed forest land. Mr. Herman needs to have, managed forest on his property. And you saw the information from Meg, they just, as long as the person isn't arrear in taxes, they approve it, but they also report it to the DNR, and the DNR works, they monitor what's happening. And they actually do an inspection of the trees that they're gonna cut before they actually cut the timber.
This has to, it kind of fits in. A property owner had a lot of tamaracks that died. Now, for some, they're dead. Do you have to get approval from the county to cut them down?
It depends where they're at, and if they're in shoreline jurisdiction, or wetlands, or high groundwater,
Tamaracks are
depends.
gonna be in the water
right?
Usually.
wet area.
If you see the county parkway, all that parkway is full of dead ash, and
You can't touch them,
the county doesn't.
okay?
yeah, I personally don't have any problem with this, so long as he's in compliance with all of our applicable ordinance and laws and the DNR rules and regulation. He's in managed forest land. I think he has to be, but just, you know, he needs to be in compliance. He needs to cut these trees, so.
Do we have a permit fee for this
No.
at all, Karen? No? Okay, this is the first one I've seen since all the years I've been.
Yeah, me
You
too.
never,
I've
because
seen one.
in Meg's email, she said the county would just approve them. I could tell you, I'll give you a list of farmers that have land that's managed. And then you see when we get a payment or we pay into, there's a payment in lieu of and payment towards, and,
Yeah,
but it's monitored by, the county is made aware of it.
okay.
It doesn't happen in villages a lot because you don't see villages as big as Vernon, maybe Menominee Falls, but the DNR is seeing more and more in villages now because there's a lot of towns that have become villages that have the woods and the forests that need to be managed. So we could do more research on this, for the next, but it'd be sure nice to get this gentleman on this other property owner's property, he can't even move in his woods.
Is there a need for a motion on this, or
Approve it.
to approve?
Yeah, that's where I got stuck, is exactly what do we need to do to get him on his way? I mean, and the county used to always approve him so long as he paid his taxes and.
Right, and you saw the email that Mr. Herman has paid his taxes, so
Right.
when you said, Mr. President, to approve the tree cutting request of Mr. Peklinski for Gerald Herman at the property located, as long as it complies with all DNR, local and state regulations. I don't know how much more you could say beyond that.
Beyond that, yeah.
Because you do have the verification that the taxes have been paid. Even the attorney was kind of stumped on this one.
Right, and all he says, all such cutting must be in compliance with all applicable ordinance, rules, and regulations, including DNR requirements.
He weaseled out on it.
Yeah,
Well, that's,
well,
I
and I think that's
That's a
because towns, it just goes to the county looks at them and approves them.
Does this imply, by the attorney's response, that everything is fine, or is he punting, saying that we have to go backwards now to the DNR and all?
No,
of
I
that?
think I don't think he might be punting, but he's not suggesting that we go back to the DNR. We're just approving, subject to the conditions, he follows all the DNR
Well, he
rules.
says it's a policy decision.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Therefore, it's on our Like,
Right.
Then I'd make a motion that we approve, Mr. Darrell Herman's, request for timber cutting on his property.
With the conditions as stated by the attorney, trustee?
With the
Yeah, that-
conditions, thank you.
you send that to him? Is that,
Yes. Oh, I've been working with Mr. Kaplinsky, and Mr. Herman, you're gonna see at the plan commission meeting next month, so they'll be very, very happy.
okay,
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Life Quest Ambulance Service and monthly reports. Our clerk treasurer put this on. I agree because it was
Yeah.
such a mess,
Oh,
such a mess. And I think they finally reconciled at least with.
Yeah, there's one that's off by
$1 or
48
something.
cents, and one that's off $11, and, you know, we were kind of anal, because I wanted to balance out, as we do on our accounts, to the penny, and they were very upset that we haven't paid them anything. So I thought, well, at least this way you could see, we'll be able to straighten out the 48 cents, and then also the $11.49, but I really think, you know, we should at least pay them. All these reports are going to go always on your secure website because of the detail in some of the reports. So every month you'll be able to look at, you know, the actual detail. I won't put these in, but I will have, all the reconciliation statements in. We're trying to get it so that all their funds are going into that one Life Quest account that still isn't, they're working with the government too, so there are some issues there. It'll all work out, but it's, you know how it's.
Should we be careful with this information because there's,
Oh, absolutely.
names of individuals
Yeah,
on here?
right. That's why it's gonna go in your secure document,
Right.
your secure, online document, so that, because of the nature of the reports, you're seeing things that only board members should see, and I know board members hold that information very secure.
Mhm. Just wanted to be clear. Or alert everybody.
Okay, so that was just a report.
Yeah, there's
You'll-
no
You'll
action.
see some, in accounts payable, you see some invoices in there that we're gonna pay, but I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda for a report before we pay those, before we get to the payables. Okay, resolution 2020-3 to combine rewards for November 3rd, 2020 election coming up, and there's no need to keep our wards separate, everybody's getting the same ballot.
That's correct, and this is an action that is required, that only the town board can, excuse me, there's my quarter, the village board can do, is combine the wards, and as the president stated, there's nothing on this ballot that the wards should be split.
is there ever?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
when the county supervisors are running, or
Right.
school boards.
Oh,
And that's always the primary or the general elections on the off year, so,
yeah.
In the odd year April.
yes, yeah.
Right, we have 3 county supervisors in
And,
the village and,
and it has to be decided tonight because the election's just around the corner.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2020-03.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presidential election voting sites. So we
This is-
combined all the wards.
Now, where do we go, guys?
Now, where do we have our election?
You know, Claire, I was looking at the report that you had provided. You gave numbers. I don't want to get into the specifics. But it's fair to say that we had more absentee ballots
Oh.
than we did have people show up. And I thought in the information that you provided, or somewhere I read, where we could possibly use this building, clean out the bays, take the trucks out the night before. Would that be acceptable?
Here's your options. That is one option, is, you know, clearing out the whole DPW, although it's November 3rd. And I can tell you, John's very, very nervous about the fact, I mean, he'll do it, but not happy.
Law says it's gonna snow that day.
That's what,
Yeah.
or the night before, and
Averages.
having those diesel trucks sit out in the cold is not good.
No.
I talked to Alex, and of course, Alex said if they absolutely have to, they'll gladly provide a part of the fire department, but they're not too crazy. It has nothing to do with the election. I mean, both the gentlemen have said we'll do it, but they have their reasons why they don't want it here.
Do you know offhand, do they have block heaters in those diesels?
No.
Okay,
And the other alternative we have is the painters and trades hall. That place I could do 6 elections. That place is that big. The only drawback is it's a school, but it does have the union. I did talk to them about the fact that, we'd have to set up on Monday, the whole election on Tuesday, pick up on Wednesday, and all the facilities, all the directors that are in that building said that they'd gladly do it because they don't pay taxes in Vernon. And they feel that would be.
That's a nice.
That would be something they could do for the community since they don't pay taxes. But I just want the board to know that, a lot of people, if we have it at a church, we'd upset people of having it at a church. We can't use the schools because nobody knows what's happening in the schools. So it's.
What's your opinion?
I mean,
You've
from
given
a.
us the options, but what is yours?
From a safety standpoint, a logistical standpoint, ADA compliance standpoint, the room in that is just enormous. It would
So
be,
you're talking about the
it
painters
would be
union?
the painters hall.
Okay,
The only drawback is the big union word. A lot of people aren't gonna like that either, but,
Well, and I suppose that it's a different location than
right, and,
Fire Station 1 or the town hall. We voted, or village hall, we voted here April,
June,
in June
August.
and August.
I'd have to do a card to let people know that if you're voting in person, this is where we're going to be.
You're gonna almost have to do a card no matter what.
well, and then have signs out in front
Or
because they're set
if
back.
we'll get to the newsletter if we get it out ahead of time.
Oh, we'll never make it.
Okay, so, what do you think, do you know roughly what the absentee percentage was in April
Of last year?
of this year?
Oh, I
you were
I
saying
made
that.
this little chart. here.
Yeah,
Yeah, this year.
Let's look at our little chart.
Okay,
April is in blue. That was a real, that was a good, August was a real,
well, right, so percentage of voters 68, percentage voting absentee 72, in-person 28. So we'd expect in November, we'd expect closer to percentage of voters 68, it'll be in the 90s.
it's always in the nineties.
It's always in the 90s.
You can see and in 2016, we were at 91.3% of the voters voting. But at that time, we only had, approximately 60% voted absentee. The whole dynamics of absentee voting has totally changed. If you look at, what the numbers are now, as of today's date, we have 1,044 absentee ballot mail-in requests. And then, the 2 weeks prior, the law changed, so you can only have absentee voting in the clerk's office 2 weeks prior. And just so the board members know, I'm gonna be here early, I'm gonna stay late, I'll have some Saturdays, some Sunday dates. Not the just normal 8 to 3:30, because, that's not convenient. I'm trying to get as many people to vote, and we're gonna kinda convert the town hall into a mini, election, so they're not all in the hallway.
Oh,
We're running
okay.
labels. And I just have to tell you too, County Executive Paul Farrow, thank God, put in his budget, they're gonna use some of their grant money to fold, because I'll probably have over 3,000 absentee ballot, well, no, probably close to 4,000 absentee ballots that'll have to be folded, and they are paying for those to be folded, which doesn't sound like much, but when you have all these people trying to fold that and a letter and a ballot, and an envelope and tab, and, like I said, everyone will do what the board asks, but, it's really the board's decision.
When I was,
I was told by, I'll say several, but I think it was really only 2 residents, that the elections that went on in August was actually terrible. Partly because of the heat, and they were all standing around, because things were going way too slow.
That's why I went up to that painter union, or the painters hall, and looked at it. It's, like Karen says, it could handle the 2 elections inside that building. And everybody, there's tremendous parking. They got plenty of room inside where people could stand out of the weather and wait for wait for, their turn to, if there's a big mob scene and everything, she could set up, what do we got, 3 machines?
Four.
And without any trouble at all, and spread them out through the whole place. If this COVID, this virus thing is still going on at that time, we're still probably looking at this social distancing as much as possible, which we have to consider in this hall or the fire station or wherever we go. We're gonna have to follow the state mandates in regard to the law. So no charge, they won't charge us anything for using. I talked to the gentleman up there, and they were really responsive in regard to what they could do for us. But it's all a matter of perception is whether we wanna have it there or not, whether people would be offended by the fact that it could possibly be inferred as a union hall.
I think if it's, to go on that point, Gary, I think considering the circumstances, I think the people would be understanding.
Yeah.
You know, we can't use the fire department,
Yeah.
okay?
Well,
No,
and
here
Jim's
it's
right.
kinda,
Okay.
I worked at the last
Yeah,
presidential
no
election.
offense on that.
Oh,
I'm
no,
just saying.
no. I
And
had,
it was a mob scene here, you know, it was steady all day long.
Yeah.
I think you were here too, Fred, you know.
Yep.
And it was one big humongous amount of people. And I know we're gonna have more absentee ballots this time, but we're still gonna get the diehard people who wanna come in person and vote. And to accommodate them in this hall here, I think it's
Wouldn't
gonna
work.
be really hard.
well, I
That's
don't
just
mean
my
to be offensive either, but trustee Solani is right. I mean, the place is filthy, it's hot, it's full of bugs. I mean, this is not a conducive, no offense.
It doesn't put a good face on the.
No, and you have the potential of it not being hot, it's gonna be cold and crummy weather, potential.
Well, the good news is they've got, I agree with everything you're saying, but they do have heat out there, okay? But, I think the painters,
Yeah,
facility,
you gotta take a run
Okay.
up there and stop in there, they're real,
I think-
agreeable to.
They're actually gonna,
Give you a
if
tour.
you would decide to do that, they're actually gonna drape, so it looks really professional. It's probably gonna be black and gold, but, it doesn't matter. But he said their students, that's some of the things that they teach in that,
Oh,
in that school is
sure.
how they do exhibits and stuff. So, but like I said, John is just afraid if we have a storm, not only are the trucks
oh,
gonna
no,
be, but then trying to plow and
totally understand.
load trucks but whatever you wanna do, but we just have to decide tonight.
Yep.
But is this a motion item, or is this a decision or a
What
consensus?
would you like, Carl?
Yeah, I'm just looking at, yeah, it will be a motion,
Okay,
but I'm just looking at the numbers from 2016. It looked like about 2,000 people voted in person, but on election day, but it was split between town hall at the time and fire
Oh, yes,
station
yeah.
number 1.
Yeah.
We had 2 locations. And in April, we voted 1 location here, and in person was 1,050
Yeah,
on your chart. And in August, it was one location here, it was 803. And if you say that everybody votes 5,500, but 80% voting absentee or early, that's 20% left, that's 1,100 in person. So could we have it here? Yes.
yes, we'd have to use both bays though.
We have to use both bays. That's where I was getting to. We'd have to go run people through,
Right.
like we did before. And then, of course, the weather issue. I'm also concerned about the painters union. It's more, to me, more of a concern of, well, are there going to be private property, there are gonna be political signs. I know there's a 100-foot rule, but 100 feet in front of the door is not very
Well, I
very
know,
long, and I don't want the whole thing smeared up with Trump or smeared up with Biden all the way through the,
Trump
as you
would be
drive
okay.
in. So, I just,
in the
I'm
city,
sorry.
this last election, I had to go to the city of Muskegon and pick up absentee ballots that they delivered there. And in front of the city hall were 3 candidates that were running for state senate as you were walking into the polls.
Oh,
Because the entrance to their polls was way inside the building. So there was no violation of election law, But people coming up were so angry because there were 3 different huge signs and people soliciting, but I did talk to Dean and they are not gonna have any signage.
This is it, sorry.
At the
person that-
at the painters,
Thank you.
hall.
Thank you.
And, yeah, they're not having any signs, there's no signs in the hall at all.
Well, then I think we'd be,
Yeah, that would be my concern, is
Yeah. no,
the political
Excellent point.
campaigning
Yeah,
coupled with the perception of the
favoritism.
union.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Right.
I know our
Well, you know how they're
voters, I
gonna
know our
stand.
voters here, yeah, that would be my concern.
I mean, like I said, we'll do whatever the board deems. I just wanted to give you all the scenarios. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, can I make a motion and then we can continue discussion?
Sure?
Yeah, I make a motion that we use give me the correct term that I should use for the facility, Karen?
it's the Painter and Trades Union,
Okay, facility,
International Union Hall, or,
Cool.
okay. With the understanding that there will be no political campaign signs on the premises.
That would be the parking lot, the whole.
Parking lot, the entranceway,
Their
everything that
That
concerns.
front sign, that big
sign.
sign.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that would be the worst place.
Yeah, that's where they put their political affiliation.
Yeah, we endorse so-and-so.
yeah.
Yeah,
That would have to be,
that would have to be blank,
Non-existent.
or it would have to say,
vote
Village of
today,
Vernon, vote here,
vote here, yeah.
Oh, that would be neat, yes.
right?
yeah. The only
Vernon
thing is,
residents, vote here.
if the motion is still on the floor, if they could have an alternative, if the Painters Union or Painters Trades
Falls
International,
apart.
if they wouldn't agree to the no signs, because that's what he said, but I just want to have that in writing. Where would the second, where we fall
Well,
back
did you
to?
say it has to be decided tonight?
Yes.
Well, then
I think then we'd have to come here.
then we'll have to use the town hall, to my chagrin.
Yeah.
Should
that all be part of the same motion?
What would be the alternative? Is the village hall, not the town hall.
I thought,
Right. Yeah, it should be part of the same motion, we're
Okay,
doing this motion by committee, but
Oh.
we'll get there. But yeah,
then,
that's your
in-
motion, so,
Right, in the alternative, I would recommend that we have the election here at the village hall. At the village hall,
this is in-person voting November 3rd,
yes.
if that isn't clear, off of this. Yeah, I just don't want have people think they're running up there to in-person or.
No, I guess,
But,
I'm glad you brought it up, because it's good to have it in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, that people see that there are alternatives that we're looking for.
right. Okay, does that motion
Yep,
make
I
sense?
got that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is-
Okay,
Is this a good
discussion.
in the discussion, could there be something that indicates that this is not the town hall, village hall is not the best place because of the winter conditions and trying to keep the trucks warm? That's why we're going over to that other facility?
I could put in the minutes that you're praying that we don't have a snowstorm on November.
But you know what I mean?
That is the drawback. If,
Yeah, yes, it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, our minutes are usually in general, in a more general nature, but we could say the village board, in the minutes, the village board discussed the alternatives, those being, the village hall, fire station number 1, and the
Or the school.
painters and trades union,
in the school.
and Big Bend Elementary School,
Yeah,
and,
this is the best option.
this, if the motion passes, this would be the best option, given the school may be unavailable
Right.
because there could be in-person school. The fire department is available, but due to the expected COVID situation, let's
I
say,
know,
and we want to try to keep our first responders as safe as possible. And then the village hall, we would have to move equipment we'd have to use the DPW garage, and that would entail moving equipment, out to the parking lot. And perhaps, there'd be inclement weather, which is also a detriment to the voters walking through.
Right.
Even though there's heat, It's still gonna, bay doors might have to be open, and,
But moving the equipment out, I think just a little addendum in there, Carl, is, Mr. President, is to, talk about the need for warm engines in those trucks. I don't know how to say that without getting into a long dissertation. But it's not the matter of parking them outside, it's because of the inclement weather.
Well, the issue is they're gonna be outside for days. You know, you can't just move them out that morning. They're gonna have to get up, you know,
Yeah.
Night before.
Monday or
Monday.
earlier, you know, depending
Yeah.
on how long it takes to set up. And that could be bad.
Yeah, that's my point.
But the overriding issue, I think, is still COVID, because you can't maintain social distancing really in any of these
Right,
other options.
yeah,
right.
that's,
You know,
that's,
from my
That's right,
standpoint.
and to keep the voters safe, and
Right.
to maintain,
Yeah, we don't know what it's gonna be, could be worse. by
right,
then.
distance, it could be worse, we don't know, no one
No.
knows. To maintain, appropriate social distancing, the bigger the voting, the better.
and the election inspectors, I mean, they're
And the
they're working all day and they're putting themselves, so like I said, the bigger the facility is and,
Oh,
we could
absolutely.
really spread out.
Yeah.
I mean, so much better than any facility we have here.
Now, because we're expecting probably 4,000 to 4,500 absentee ballots, the polling location would be, if this passes at the Painters Trade Union, those would have to be opened and counted there,
Right,
right?
yeah, just during the
Sorry,
election.
Carl, say
So
again.
anybody that wants to watch the absentee ballot process, they'd have to stand back, but they do it so that people can see
Right.
how, they don't see how people vote. They open up 10 envelopes,
They
put
read
out,
the
stack
names
them.
and check them
and then-
off,
yep,
and
yeah.
check the signatures, check the witness,
Right.
and then they open, and then they,
Well, that's all, the witness, and that is done before, but at the actual election, it's just stating the name and address, just as if the person is standing there. The envelope's open, it's put off to the side, they open 10 at a time, then they take them out, put the envelopes here, flatten out the envelopes, so that they're not seeing how the elector is voting.
So can I have a second to the motion? The amended
oh,
motion?
we did have a second.
Did you have, who
I
seconded?
Gary,
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
we did have a second, we're on discussion.
We're in
Sorry.
discussion, okay. I thought we were amending my
No, no,
motion.
no, no,
Okay.
we're
Well, you
on
got a good one.
discussion, stating, to your
Thank
point, where I was trying to summarize for the minutes,
No, thank
our
you.
discussion, and
Okay,
trustee Solani added, and I tried to add, and then I wanted to add,
thank
I
you.
just wanted to make sure that
That you
clerk's
cover all the-
office covered the absentees and where they're gonna be open. I think all of that's right, that they have to be open there and everything.
Yes,
but-
yes, we don't have central counting.
Right, so any further discussion? Comments? Okay, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, sorry.
No, it's good.
Well, it's better plan ahead, cause it could be a mess. I have a feeling this election's gonna be extremely busy too.
Right, well, and of course, we always encourage people to vote by absentee or early, and I'm sure
Karen, wait,
it'll be no different this year.
I've been hearing different things on when coming in for the presidential election. 2 weeks prior to the election, you can come in and do the absentee ballot,
By
or?
state law now, there
Now.
was just that court case, because we, in Vernon, we used, as soon as we got the absentee ballots, 45 days before the election, we started in-person voting then,
Okay.
but we can't. It's every municipality in the state of Wisconsin has 2 weeks. You can vary your times, which I will increase our times, and I
just
always put
bring
the appointment, because if somebody has to come in Sunday night at 8 o'clock, I have a lot of police officers that can't make the normal times. If they have an appointment, we take them.
You're gonna put all of this in a card,
Yes, yes,
not only the polling place, but I mean,
right. Yep.
rules for absentee and,
In person here, Village Hall, in person, day of the election, Painters Union.
Karen, you'll
Make
enjoy
that
this.
clear.
Right.
So they're not running up there,
Right.
making their voting up
Yes.
there.
My wife heard on the radio, as I did, about I don't know where, but they were complaining about the absentee ballots coming in, and that they're gonna be there till midnight.
That's Milwaukee.
They're gonna be there till midnight with the absentee ballots, getting them through the machines.
Milwaukee County is that way, and they have machines that run ballots by the thousands. They don't go like ours. Yeah, Milwaukee County was there till way beyond midnight. Madison, Green
City
Bay.
of Milwaukee.
Yeah, your big cities, City of Waukesha, New Berlin, Muskegon, Menominee Falls, those, it takes a long time to have all those words come in and balance and canvas, yeah.
That's why they don't
But
think
don't
this
the-
election will be
Do the
resolved.
ballots have to be through the machine by 8 o'clock?
No, you can have people standing, you can have people voting till midnight
Oh,
as
no, I
long as
agree
they're,
with that.
right, yeah.
But the absentee ballot,
No, there's no, they're supposed to be done before the election ends, but,
Right.
I mean, if you have, 60,000, I
whatever,
mean,
we just do it.
The
Okay,
election doesn't end until you turn the numbers in.
right, and they vote them in, and
all right, thanks.
that's why the board, thank God, gave us 2 extra machines, because at least that one machine is dedicated to absentee, so the voters that are voting in person can vote, and you can be feeding the absentee ballots, and,
And it makes it very easy for the election workers, because then
Yes.
that whole bin is absentee,
right.
because we have to count for those.
Yeah, the only bad thing is counting the ballots and looking for the write-ins.
Yep. But isn't that the case that they have to register as a write-in prior to the election?
It depends on the election,
Oh,
yep. They have different rules.
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Fall newsletter deadline for articles and timing. We're not gonna make November.
Well, I shouldn't say, I mean, if everybody's got their articles written, we could get a newsletter out next week.
This is only August, how can we be running out of time for November?
Well,
Okay, so
prob-
this would be what time do we, I can't remember what we
Usually-
did yet last year.
it takes at least 2 to 3 weeks once it's approved by the board to get it, printed and collated and stamped and, so that's one issue. But getting it, it comes to one board meeting for sure.
Yeah, let me back up here just for a second. The WEC, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, is mailing absentee ballot requests to every voter who hasn't already requested one, is that right?
Right, but they haven't done that yet, so people are I've gotten at least 10 calls from people that their parent has died. Whoever is doing the mailings now is not the Wisconsin Elections Commission. They have not done their mailing yet. So anybody that's getting a mailing is coming from a third party.
group.
It appears that it's coming from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and it really doesn't matter if somebody wants an absentee ballot. I mean, they have to provide the proper application and their proof of residency and photo ID, and we put them in the system. But the Wisconsin Elections Commission is going to mail to everyone in the state of Wisconsin that isn't registered for absentee voting.
Right, and the reason I raise that is, back to the timing, I know in the past, we've included that application
Oh,
in a newsletter
multiple times.
multiple times. So if the state elections commission was not going to do it, then I would say, well, maybe we should try and push this newsletter out beginning of October and put the application in it. But since it's going out anyway, there's no point to,
Right.
that's not a reason to push the newsletter out, because that's what I was thinking. Do we want to rush to get the newsletter out? Because we've been mandated by the state or otherwise that we gotta send application. I mean, at the beginning, they were saying everybody was gonna have to, every municipality was gonna have to do it on their own, and then they decided, no, we'll do it.
Yeah, because.
Because we were like, hey, where are we gonna get the money?
Right, that's what all municipalities said, is we don't have that in our budget.
Right,
Yeah.
so the state's gonna do it, so we don't have to put it in the newsletter.
State
That's all I
doesn't
was
have it in
thinking.
their budget either.
The $7 million mailing.
Yeah. Well, think about
Yeah.
But then you can have this, you mentioned somebody called because their parents had died and they got this, right? Had they filled it out, that would have been a fraudulent,
Right. I
but you
sure,
wouldn't know that.
oh, yes.
Well,
yes.
not if it had all the right information on it, how would you know that?
Because in our system, the system that we use from the state, that person, if you put their name and date of birth, the software does a background check with social services, and they find that person is deceased.
Good, good.
Yeah, there's red flags that come up on our
Okay.
system, and we've had people too that have requested an absentee ballot, It never came, so we cancel that ballot, we give them a new one, and if that ballot would happen to show up, we don't count it because that's a disqualified ballot. You know, and we would only count the ballot that's valid, because you can only give the person one active ballot.
Right.
So there's a code, there's a barcode that we either scan it or bake it into the system, so the system knows that, hey, that we have an active ballot. And if something happens, there's a process that you negate that ballot and give them a new one.
What about the concern of about the absentee ballots arriving late?
If they have to arrive by 8 o'clock, and we've got postmasters that actually came
The date
on
of the
election
election.
night to bring them in by 8 o'clock, as long as they're here. And I can tell you, I'm standing by the, you know, here and
Here would be
here.
at the Painters Union now, okay?
Yeah, my staff will be there, but I will be here watching. The official drop boxes are here or the village hall.
So wouldn't you need to take them out of there and get them to Painters by 8 o'clock?
No, I mean, I'd have to get them there, but I'd call them, and that would be an official, so they would hold feeding it in because they made the drop.
Yeah.
Especially on a presidential, there's no way it takes a long time for them to get to where they're
Did we
modeming
have
in.
a bunch left over that came in late, in August?
4,
How many?
4,
Okay.
What does happen?
but a lot of people didn't vote either, so you mail them out, or we mailed them out and they said, oh, I didn't bother, so you have to cancel that ballot that you paid postage on and allow them to vote.
Yeah.
And we had about 15 of those.
Oh, wait.
Well, I really didn't want it. So,
Alrighty.
all right.
Okay, back to the newsletter. So I was just raising that in the event that we needed to do something in particular for the November 3rd election,
Right.
which would drive the date, you know, into beginning of October. And since we don't, then I think we have more.
Well, we would if, because the
Flexibility.
location's changing. It
Yeah,
is-
we could, because, okay, we talked about sending a postcard.
But if
We
we
might have
have
to do it, but if we put it on
a full page
full
ad,
page in the newsletter, then maybe we wouldn't, I mean, the newsletter goes to all 3,000
Right,
homes.
Right.
So,
and that would save postage on the other
on
side.
the
Right.
little card.
I think we should opt to get it out in late November, you know, or late October, so it's just prior to that.
right.
Reminder.
Yeah,
So,
So you'd almost have to get it done by September.
yeah, let's just.
Sorry, we're talking about the newsletter going on?
Yeah.
Newsletter, this is the newsletter on the agenda here.
Okay, no, I
And we're
see
just-
it. I got
And
it on the
Tammy's
agenda.
already
Yeah.
putting things.
Yeah, I know we're getting kind
We're
of,
jumping,
yeah, we're jumping, that's why I said it.
so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's why I said it. 'cause-
So the biggest thing is if you're getting articles, how fast could you get them in?
Okay, so, the election is
Well,
November.
it depends on
3rd.
what,
We have
somebody's
this,
gotta give us or give me a deadline, and with that deadline, I'll get something written and to
Okay,
you.
so how long, okay, so November, if we're gonna try to beat the election, it's November 3rd is the election, so we need to mail it, what, October 19th?
oh, way before.
Before that.
It's gotta
Okay,
go-
so let's back
It's
up
gotta go to the
again.
printer by the beginning of
No,
October.
mail it like,
you said
it's in
May.
transit, back from the printer and everything.
Yeah, we'd have to get it to the
But,
printer,
when do we have to get it, okay, let's
to
do
the
it that
print,
way.
to
To the
is
printer.
1st of October.
1st of October, does that take, they have to have time to print it and get it posted into a post office by like the 15th or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the best would be at the end of September, sometime to the end of September.
Well, October 1, September 30.
October. Yeah.
I'm waiting for a date.
Yeah.
You tell me when you
That's why
want.
we're trying to figure
No, no, I
the
know you're
date
working
out,
on it.
yeah,
No, no,
because we
I'm
gotta
not-
back, you know how to set dates, you gotta
It-
back
it
up.
would-
If you wanna get it in somebody's hand on no later than October 26th, when does it have to be in the mail? When does it
Agree.
have to be at the printer?
We know
And then,
that.
when does
Yeah, we
it
know
has to
that.
be in
We know
Karen's
that.
office, period, you know, right?
We know that.
Yeah, we're just trying to
Is there
back
any
up.
way that we could get it approved by the board on September 17th?
The second meeting, second board meeting,
Right.
I think it's a month.
Not a month, but
No, because then we gotta get it to them
3
in
weeks.
time.
Yeah, that's approved on the 17th. We got these finance committee meetings that we could put it at the end
Oh,
of it,
there
get
you
an
go.
approval there too on the
Oh, that's
23rd,
true.
let's say.
Yeah, that would be good, 23rd, that would be
Right.
the best.
Right,
So
because
23rd
then you could get it to the printer, and it could be
21st.
back by by
give me part of.
mid-October, like by October 12th, right? If we get it
Right, because they already have all the information
on the labels and everything, the homes.
no, they have, I'm just thinking of what happened, there's no pancake breakfast, they already have the information on the brush drop-off. We'll put all
Oh,
the
that
tax
way.
information in there, and it would be articles from the board. The Eagle Scout thing. So, Carl, when would you want the board members to give the articles to?
You have to get them in and format them and check them and spell check them.
Right,
Tammy's gotta, put it on format it on the page, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so that's.
September
yeah,
9th, too,
yeah.
too
I think-
late?
Yeah, September 15th is like a drop dead date. You have to have everything done
Yeah, no,
and
it,
ready to format, and, you know what I mean?
oh, yeah, because we're not the 17th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's almost like the 15th or the 16th, that means
that's the almost two.
drop dead, and then it goes to Tammy to get it formatted and spell checked and, right? So that gives board members a little under 4 weeks.
Should be fine.
Yeah, it's more work. It's gotta
Well-
be, we gotta do it anyway eventually, so.
Right,
It's a timing, to me, it's just the timing of the work. I write an article, I'm gonna write an article, and whether I do it in August or September or October, I guess it doesn't necessarily matter to me, but.
And if this newsletter was a little light, from content, that's not a big deal either.
right, it doesn't have to be a documentary, right.
Right.
But I would, if the board members wouldn't mind, I'd like to dedicate an entire page to what may or may not happen with the election in November.
Oh, yeah.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, we'll put on Facebook and,
Yeah,
and in the town's website and everything, depending on, I just wanna make it clear in writing to Dean that the board said no political signs.
Right, so people will be getting it in their mailboxes about October 19th is what I'm thinking. In-person voting would start then, October 19th or 20th? In person,
The 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks prior.
2 weeks prior, which is about the time if the newsletter was in people's mailboxes then, with that big one-page banner, in-person voting starts
Yeah.
here at Village Hall. In-person on election day is here, give the address, absentee ballots can be requested until this date. Don't rely on the mail after
Right,
this
right.
date.
Oh my God.
I tell people,
Oh,
on
and,
November 3rd, I said, if you haven't mailed your ballot by October 26th, drop it off.
Yeah, right.
I wish
Period.
I wish there was some way, we have so many, thank God, residents, wonderful residents that come and drop off. I wish we had some way of recording if they don't need the return postage.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
helpful.
It sounds petty, but if you would see how many wonderful
It adds
people
up.
drop off, at this box or here or come in, you bring 2 ballots and that's $1. I know that sounds petty, but when you're talking dollars and dollars and dollars, I know board
Right,
members.
2,000, that's $1,000,
Yeah.
just like that.
So if there was some way, if you know anyone that doesn't need the return postage, we've tabbed them, but we have to turn in our, it's really difficult without, I'd almost have to mail those people to ask them, well then,
Well, then you're not.
Do they have to supply return postage?
I called, it says shall, so it's highly, unless we have something in writing, so doing a commercial, if
Didn't say
someone.
must.
But they said, unless someone puts on that I don't want, there are people that have called that says, don't put any return postage, I'm gonna drop mine off, I wanna drop it off, I wanna make sure it gets there, I'm worried about the mail, for whatever reason, and thank God they do that, but if Anybody wants to email me and tell me, don't put return postage or call us, we almost need an email to prove that you didn't ask for postage. We'd be happy to do that too. I'm sorry, Carl, all these
So
commercials.
did we do that on the date?
So, we are deciding, okay, so we are deciding that deadline for articles, so that was on the agenda, so the deadline for articles is, should we just say September 16th?
Yeah,
This is articles to Karen. correct?
Yes, for the newsletter. Yeah, but if you can get them any earlier,
Oh,
that would
that's
be.
not-
Obviously, earlier the better.
Not later than.
Not later than September 16th,
16, 1/6?
1/6, and then, what else did the agenda say? And when does the village board want it released? With newsletter, what, released, you mean, but mailed or something? Mailed, what, the week of the October 12th?
If everything goes right. It depends what time when we get it to the printer.
Well, we can make it soft with the newsletter estimated mailing date during the week of October 12th.
Yeah,
Is
that
that
would be good,
possible?
yeah, because if we approve it on the 23rd, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll make that motion. How's that?
I'll
Motion
second
to, yeah. Make it
Did you make a
on-
motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the deadline for submitting articles to the fall newsletter be no later than September 16th with a estimated mailing date during the week of October 12th.
I'll second it.
Perfect.
Yeah, good. Any further discussion, now that we've beaten it up pretty good? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, opposed, motion carries. Charter ordinance update. This is on the agenda, just to keep everybody updated, including the public. We did send it off for legal review. We had Jim Slaney, trustee Slaney, help draft it with our clerk treasurer. And I looked at it, made comments on it, and went off to our attorney, and we just received it back, I think at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And so I put it on here just for an update, obviously. What we need, what I would like the board to do is review both of them. And I think if we'll put it on the agenda for September 3rd, if after reviewing it, if you think we need to have a special meeting just for the charter ordinance to go through it, I just, contact the clerk, and then if enough people need the meeting, we'll have a meeting.
Did you,
Otherwise, we'll put it up for September 3rd
that
for a
hasn't been,
vote.
that hasn't been distributed to us yet, right?
It just
You
came
have
in
it.
this afternoon.
That has,
you've got a copy now.
oh, that's the, okay.
Just came in this afternoon,
That's
at
what
5
that
o'clock
is,
this
okay.
afternoon.
And I did email it also.
Yeah, it's on our email and a hard copy.
Right. I thought it's
Thank
nice
you.
to read.
Right, there is a lot of war paint, let's say, on that. Well, that's not a lot of colors on it, I'll say. That was not a necessarily appropriate term, but, so that's just the update. That's why I put that on there, just for an update. Give you a heads up. If you think we need a special meeting, be happy to have one for the charter ordinance. It's that important to me and to Vernon, and to the residents. Otherwise, we'll put it on for September 3rd for hopefully approval.
Yeah. We had done the backdating on that we had to have this thing done by September, I thought,
Right.
in order to make
Get
sure
the 60
everything.
days and everything like that,
Right.
yep. Next item, any further on that one? Next item, we gotta keep going here. Village of Mukwonago Potential Cooperative Plan Update. Attorney Macy and I met with, Village President of Mukwonago and, their lawyer, Mark Bloom, on Wednesday afternoon. I would characterize that conversation as, very civil and productive. I think we have an understanding with each other. The way we left the meeting was, Mukwonago, village president was going to take it back to his board the first Wednesday of September, and, which would be September 2nd, to see if his board would like to proceed further in discussions. Obviously, nothing was decided. We did have a closed session, as you may recall, and that's basically our conversation that we had with the Village of Maplenago. I put it on here for an update, just to update the board. If the board is of a mind to proceed with discussions, kind of outlining it, we asked them again, will they extend sewer and water to individual property owners if it makes sense and is consistent with our master plan, without extending pipes, but just hooking in one off at the border, absent some catastrophic failure in some subdivision, which is a whole nother issue. And if they were going to require detachment, then we would want something in return for detaching properties from the Village of Vernon, and that's the way we left it.
They
And
didn't scream or anything
and they
about
didn't
that,
scream.
did
They may come back and say no.
Okay.
They may say, yes, let's continue. This is just an update. My thought is, we put it on our September 3rd in closed session. If they come back, say they want to
Some kind of
continue,
proposal?
then we'll have an opportunity to discuss it further in closed session, because we'll be negotiating at that point. Unless you guys say, forget it, let's just,
Doesn't
you know,
I
hurt
don't
to
see
talk.
why.
yeah.
Doesn't hurt to talk.
No.
Yeah, that's what
Don't cost us nothing.
well, Attorney Macy was there.
Well,
so,
yeah, it cost us him.
No, but still,
You know,
lines of communication are very good.
right. So, that's the update, so I will put that on our September 3rd agenda, and we'll put it in closed session. And if we don't need it, we don't need it. If they come back and say there's no way we're gonna
But they
deal
don't
with
agree to
Vernon,
it.
okay,
Fine.
fine, we can live with it. To me, we can live with it,
At least we had the
we're not
olive,
compelled to do anything here.
we had the olive branch.
Is that sewer a deal breaker on having a shared services with them?
This is the Village of Maplenago.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Okay.
Village.
So that's the update. We'll put it on for the 3rd. Plan Commission future discussion and possible action. I wanted to make sure, even though we got, 3 people on the Plan Commission, but, at the Plan Commission, we went through, the list of, future items, if you will, to-do list. And with Sean Malarkey, and at the Plan Commission level, we said, let's put these in, there's a list, 5 or 6 of them, let's put these in order of importance.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to bring it to the board here, so that you can start doing your homework. Proposed changes to the conditional use,
That's
And
a
they're-
big packet that we got,
Yep.
started going through that.
right? And the conditional uses are important because Act 67, we gotta have standards, and if we're not gonna have standards, you either gotta put them in there or strike them so that people can't, use them to their advantage against
Us.
Vernon and the residents. And that includes cell tower if we need to make adjustments there, which I think are important, as we found out. Subdivision definition and the residential development and control allotment, I think are then 2 and 3, those two are kind of hand in hand. This is our allotment and point system. Remember, we had, the issue with the new subdivision on off of Double X and the points, and it didn't make any sense to anybody, including Sean, and so we need to get that all revised, because I suspect there will be more subdivisions. And so that's why I put that, after talking to Sean and the Plan Commission, those are the ones we should tackle first. That's why they're here. Get everybody alerted. We will have to have a public hearing. So that'll be coming as well. And we're gonna pick this up in September at the Plan Commission. We've got a pretty light agenda, so I won't plan on tackling that. Right, so I plan on tackling that at our first meeting in September, Plan Commission. And hopefully get something to the board so we can get some public hearings scheduled and that kind of stuff. But I think those are next step for Vernon. So we're on to 6, correspondence, announcements, and reports. I kind of put my report on the agenda in case there was questions. We could, have an agenda item as opposed to me just telling you something. So if you got questions on the agenda items I went through, we can have those now. Otherwise, I have no further report for me, so we'll go to Trustee Solani.
I already mentioned the one call I did get this month on the open invoices, so we've already talked about that. I said, I don't have anything else.
Trustee Wilder.
Yeah, a couple of things, reminders, with the bridge construction over the Fox River now down on ES, you're gonna experience some very big backup times, as I found out as I went into McGuanago this week, in regard to the lights allowing traffic go through, and you can probably experience, especially if you go around rush hour or early in the morning.
That's, I was gonna add
Yeah,
that.
it's more advantageous if you take the freeway and go into McGuanago, coming down National Avenue, come around, because it's really a backup. The other thing is be really careful on 164 now with this paving project that's going on. The speed limit's been dropped from 55 to 45, and people are still going really fast, but that traffic is tremendous on that road, going back and forth. And I have a feeling that our fire department's been out there on a few calls, because I heard the sirens a lot going on 164. So, the other thing too, I'd like to put on the agenda for next time, and maybe discussion about, I talked to a resident in the village of Big Bend that's on the board, and they've bought a fogging machine for disinfecting, where it just goes around and sprays everything, just for maybe discussion to see. It was a couple $100, but put it on the agenda just to talk about the pluses and minuses of whether that would be something that would benefit us here at the town hall, because of all the traffic that's in and out of and I don't know what kind of sanitation policies that we're following, but something like that would DPWI could come in here prior to after the meetings and fog all the chairs and everything. And from my understanding, this thing works really, really effective. So that's basically all. I didn't get any calls from any residents for the first time in a long time, but that's all I have.
I'd like to just dovetail on Trustee Wildy. On 164, yes, be careful. And the way they've got it set up, you can't always turn left or right, depending on what direction you're coming in. So if you're going in one direction, pay attention as to when you can cross over or whatever. And also the same thing on ES. If you go kind of midday, I used it once just on a trial and error, and found that I was held up just by one stoplight, and which wasn't too bad. And so considering the alternative, then I came back on I-43 to see what that was like. But yeah, allow yourself a little bit more time if you're going to use ES. Everybody's pretty considerate as to letting others come across or go across. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. I just want to reiterate to residents, we've had a pest control company that has been in the village of Vernon, the village of McGuanago, and parts of the village of Waukesha. I've contacted the sheriff's department, but want to urge residents to remind them that if the village board ever approves a peddler's permit, it's always on the front page of the website. You don't have to go look. This board has not approved a peddler's license in over a year's time. And it's nice that they call me, but if any peddler comes to your home and doesn't have an official Town of Vernon badge, and as I stated, none has been issued, please, please, please contact the Waukesha County dispatch to let them know that someone's in your neighborhood. They send them out right away, and some of the arrests they have made, you'd be surprised to see what they've arrested in those adventures. So if someone comes to your door, anybody comes to your door selling something, call the 262-446-5070. It's the dispatch number, non-emergency number, and they'll get a sheriff out right away. And also just wanted to remind the residents that if they want an absentee ballot for the presidential election, all they have to do is send me an email and scan the front of their driver's license, passport, veterans badge, and we'll put them on the list for absentee ballots, and that's all I have.
Can I ask on the absentee ballot, if you already have had your driver's license scanned, do you have to do it again?
No, so if
you're on file.
Right, if you're on file, all you have to do is send us an email. Unfortunately, if it's only for the November, but if you want to continue your absentee ballot into the next year, you have to make another yearly request, unless you're indefinitely confined, so.
One follow-up note on the peddlers. One came to my door, just 2 days ago. A bug,
That's it.
That's the people,
a bug guy.
right?
Unfortunately, I didn't get up out of my chair at that particular time. I wasn't moving very well. And I kind of let it slide. My wife talked to him, blew him off, and he used a Segway to go from house to house.
I'm sorry, what did he do?
He used a Segway.
A Segway, you know, the two wheels.
He was in our subdivision. I
Oh.
saw the guy on a Segway. I thought it was a kid or something.
Okay.
But I seen this guy, but I didn't realize he was a
But I
Segway.
saw an email saying that the sheriff was called, but he couldn't find him.
Right, and I wanted to share the email that I sent to the Village of Mugwanago, and you saw the Village of Mugwanago chief respond also, so having that open communication and dialogue with our other municipalities is great, so. But once again, like I said, it's nice that residents call me, and I'm happy to call the sheriff's department, but it's most important to call the sheriff's department when they're at your door.
I didn't
and-
realize. I thought, I'm not, made a bill when you said Segway, because you never see those people around.
Right.
Yeah,
I
just
thought
a
it was a-
reminder, they're welcome to call the town to say, hey, is there any, we'll tell you, no, none has been, but if you don't wanna call, go on the website, and if you as a board ever approve it, it's right on the front page, it's got their picture and everything, we try to do everything in our power to let people know if somebody is legitimate, that's how it's done in Vernon. Sorry, Mr. President.
Well, yeah, and so no peddlers permits. I've heard complaints about that person too, and they're taking advantage of the fact that census workers are out,
Yeah.
and now they're taking advantage of the fact that there are other people circulating around the village. And it is from what I understand from residents, it is not a good situation as far as what they're selling and what they're delivering. So
Usually
as
it isn't.
the clerk treasurer said, call the dispatch so we can stop it. Okay, finances, accounts payable, August 20th.
Let's see if I got the right one. For August 20th, is that batch number 20008-820?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I want the people that are watching, that I don't just arbitrarily approve these, I go over them
Yep.
quite diligently. We get this packet before the board meeting, so I want people to know that I'm gonna make a motion to approve it for $92,927.03.
Is there a second?
Second, and I second Fred's thing that we do get this packet ahead of time, and we do I go through every single bill,
Yeah.
and I see if the taxes are charged to us, or whatever, if there's any inconsistencies or
So I
something.
just want the people to know that I don't arbitrarily just,
Right.
let's approve it. No, look at it first.
As do I.
We do
A little
diligence.
sticky's
We
not
all
with
do.
what?
We do due diligence, yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manual checks.
I just want to let the board members know that Mike Zalecki knows that he'll always, I gave him his information again. There was one of the cards, we're gonna try to get a refund on the $4.38 he paid for tax on one of the items, I think was that Office Max. So we'll try to get a credit on that. He does know, that he's welcome to use that at any time. So I just want to let the board know that we're gonna try to get that back because we're tax exempt. We shouldn't be paying those taxes. And the Centurion, I'm trying, in the process of trying to get that so we can do an ACH on that also. I'll bring that back to the board because I know there was some interest in paying some of these bills through ACH, and this one always, we get caught on Centurion,
Right,
the
the
life
date,
insurance,
right.
it falls in between both, so,
Yeah, that would be good.
right,
That would be good to put on ACH
Yeah.
if we can, just because it's a
it's a payroll,
item and it's very similar each month. and-
right, yep.
So do we have a motion to approve manual checks in the amount of $687.40?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. July 2020 ACH in the amount of $109,152.59.
This one we do need a motion on.
So we do need a motion to approve the ACH transactions. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No cash policy. And we did get in our packet a email with a comment and then maybe a sample ordinance. And I think what the treasurer is asking, are we going to pursue a no cash policy or should we just leave it as we've been having it? I know.
And we don't get a lot of cash.
Oh, that's-
Unfortunately, the software for the software that we use for the dog license is totally different than the financial software. So like I said, the most cash we get is the dog license, but I can assure you that those are, anytime there's cash, I'd be happy to show you how it's processed. And as I stated, if we ever get cash, which is not very often, with for taxes, it's done on camera. The person counts it out on camera, there's 3 people there, everybody signs off, so.
Karen, on a normal month or a week, you give me a period, how much cash do you get?
Like this last week was $20.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And for the constituent, I think it would be difficult if that's all they had, to make them go away and come back with a check.
we'd never do that for dog license, or
Yeah,
$10
I
or,
just-
I mean, if it becomes a problem, like I said, I'd be happy to put in your packets any type of, copies of any cash transactions and how it's signed off by 3 people and.
Nope,
Yeah, this was, remember with our auditor, brought this up for discussion, so that's why
Right.
we're having the discussion.
I agree.
You know, I find it difficult to pass a policy to turn away cash. I understand why the auditor is at.
Well, I think it's on the floor,
Discussion.
the dollar amounts, the volume, dollar
And
volume.
it's just such a small amount.
Yeah,
What I
that's,
wanted to I thought the comments from the administrator from Sussex were, how can you deny legal tender? I never thought of that.
Well, I can tell you what would happen if we did have a no cash policy. If someone showed up with cash, they'd take the cash. I mean,
You're right.
they would. All it would do is act as a deterrent to bring cash in the first place, so.
Right.
You take the cash. I don't know why you wouldn't.
But at least you researched it and discussed it and.
And it's not, nobody's gonna risk going to jail over $5. No.
You wouldn't think.
But if somebody, yeah, I get that. But, if somebody comes in and pays taxes with it, that could be a substantial amount, which should potentially,
but she said how they handle it, it's all recorded on camera.
And the other thing too, if somebody is there, besides the recording on camera, it goes in a dropped lock safe. And we do have something in place that I wouldn't say on camera
Yeah,
with the
no.
sheriff's department.
But-
So there is another level of security.
all those processes and procedures only work when everybody follows them.
Right, that's true.
That first person that takes that dollar bill, you know, if they don't follow that procedure, you know.
Yep,
Now taxes, you're gonna notice that somebody didn't pay that, you know, I mean, you know, so the big amount, I don't think is an issue.
right, and it's very rare. I mean, when you look at the percentage of what people don't pay with cash.
So we didn't have to take any action.
No. We're not gonna, if we don't authorize her, she won't, or direct her,
Right.
she won't do
But
it.
to be
Right, I
clear,
just-
it will show up in the minutes,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, that you
Good.
discussed all the
That's all we needed,
alternatives
yeah.
and
Right.
I'll put some-
Decided to take no action.
that'll make
Right.
Howard happy, because
Right.
at least you
That's
discussed
where I
it.
was coming from.
Right. Okay, now we're on to ambulance bill request for time to pay. There's one, you did get one thing.
Yes.
I don't know much about this, can you?
And I don't know either. The lady indicated, she said she just got out of the hospital
Yeah.
and she just got the bill. To be perfectly honest, it's been so busy that I didn't call LifeQuest. And Alex wanted more information, and I said to Alex, well, first she wanted it brought to the board's attention that she just got out of the hospital. She just got the bill and it said final notice. I'd be happy to do research on it and ask, she was saying that, as she stated in her letter, she just can't afford to pay this. She could do it in payments, but she just can't. At this point where the bill is at, we don't regulate. We do if it comes back to us. We do have people that we bill monthly for ambulance fees, and then if they make no attempt to pay it, then board members have put that on their tax bills. But I'd be happy to research it for you, I'd happy to give it to Alex. I don't know what you'd like me to do.
It's an unfortunate situation for her, and it's not a huge amount.
She came up front right away
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and said, hey, I can't handle this right now.
Right.
So what's the process that we've used in the past, if any, to give people,
We have,
Or
when
time.
it's at the billing agency, we have never had this happen. They usually work within the billing agency, so I'll find out what their protocol is also, but I wanted to, ask them, do they do any type of pay, maybe they don't, and I could get more information, but she requested that, she said, could you please, she feels bad, can you tell the
That's
board,
nice. No,
you
she
saw
was-
her note. So I can get more research and then bring it back, if that's agreeable to the board.
Yeah, since LifeQuest is new, I would like to know what they would, like, I can't remember if we even discussed this when we talked to them with their contract.
And see, what I would like to do is, I know the person that I would send it to at LifeQuest and ask,
What
explain the situation, and then copy you on their response.
mhm, thank you.
Right. And in the meantime, this person should, as I always tell debtors, they're not responding, pay what you can per month. And start sending them, make up your own installment plan and start sending your payments, and by the time they get to yours,
Yeah.
here's what I proposed, I've been keeping on my schedule, just approve it.
Right,
Right,
and the boards have always been, when it's in our hands, the board has always been very
consider it.
understanding.
Well, the person could start making monthly payments in the first place and what they can afford.
Right,
And so when it finally comes back to the
Yep.
board, it'll be an easier decision for us, I
It's
think.
been a good effort, faithful effort.
Right,
okay,
okay?
I got my consensus,
You got your consensus and direction?
yes.
Okay, village board minutes, August 6th.
Make a motion to approve.
And these are, as the couple of changed, the corrected ones
Yeah, with the yellow.
Yeah,
with yellow. Okay, any other correction, or sorry, is there a second?
thank you.
second,
Okay, a second. Any discussions or further corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next village,
Those were the easiest ones to review. Would you agree?
we've got some joint village board and planning commission
Oh my God, I already got direction from
minutes
the
coming.
attorney.
There was more open space on this between sentences and paragraphs than I've ever seen.
Oh, okay. All right, let me go through the next meeting date, so everybody's on board. August 24, 7 o'clock, Board of Review. We're the Board of Review, so And it starts right at 7. We've got 2 appointments that I know about so
Yes.
far.
One might,
Can you give me a feeling as to how long you would think they would last?
We need to stay in session
2 hours.
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours,
I
that's
am
what I
not
need.
gonna get yelled at again for this.
No, I
Is
don't
that
want
a
it.
2 hours.
not that you
minimum.
yelled, Fred.
Yeah, no
I
one
need
yelled
to
at,
yell.
I got yelled at by other people.
No, I just want to know how long it is.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Just so I can account for 2 hours. Okay.
Minimum 2 hours, could go longer, we
Can
can
I
always
make a
adjourn
motion
it.
to adjourn after 2 hours?
We could,
You might have to reconvene.
might have to reconvene. Remember last year,
Yeah.
oh, you weren't on the board, and neither
No.
were you. But Gary and I were on the
Yep,
board.
yep, yep.
We had to reconvene several times, actually,
How come?
to hear a matter on the golf
More
courses.
information.
After the 2 hours?
Do we have some schedule?
We got yelled at about the 2 hours.
Do we have schedule?
We have 2 potential appointments.
2 potential
2 have
people?
filed their proper paperwork.
Okay, but they don't even have to file paperwork.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Huh?
I thought they could just show up.
Oh, no. How do you prepare? I mean,
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought the law
no.
said that you go.
they're in compliance with the law. They filed within the 48 hours. I can't tell you, I mean, anything more than that, but you do have 2 potential.
Okay.
One's, well, 2 potential. But you have some other action you have to do. You have to elect the president. There's some statutory obligations that you have to do before you hear your cases.
Right, and I think we are gonna have an attorney here. Yes, no?
I
We haven't
didn't like
decided yet.
We've
Okay.
never had an attorney, except for that last year's case because it was so complicated.
Right, I'm not
These-
suggesting that we do, although we are gonna follow the rules.
Well, they have to have overwhelming evidence to show.
Well, this is on the agenda, Gary.
Yeah, this is a meeting announcement. The question was how long? 2 hours minimum. So 7 to 9, at least 7 to 9,
That's
August
fine,
24th, Board
just
of
so I have a
Review.
rough time.
Village Board, September 3 and the 17th. Talked about agenda items for the 3rd. Village Plan Commission, we talked about that, September, that's not right, 10, it's 9, isn't it?
Yes,
Sorry
there's
about
a
that.
typo.
There's a typo, September 9,
No,
it's not, it's just Plan Commission.
but you might wanna watch on TV
You
or,
may wanna watch on TV because like I say, we're planning on going through conditional uses, amendments and, subdivision, which will go to public hearing and come to the board, so. And then we have Village Board and Finance workshop, workshops. It's getting late, September 16th, 23rd, and 30th, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And those are our September
Make a
meetings.
motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.